You think you're fast? Think you go faster on the draw? Shooter! I fired and I reloaded all in that time. You didn't even see it. It was so fast. Shooter! Welcome to the live stream. Thanks for hanging out. Welcome to GripMotion. We're in here. We're doing it. All right, we have 3 hours and 56 minutes until this order is done. That's going to complete our weekend's orders, just to represent it in printing sheets. It goes on, okay, and then we've got this as well. So it was a good weekend for only being our third weekend. Not bad for a third weekend. What do you think our 33rd weekend is going to be like? Or there's not 53 weeks in a year, but anyway, things are looking up for us. Thank you so much, everybody. But these 5 are going out first. So today I'm going to work on getting all of these hex grips that I've got and getting them set up to go out the door. But I just realized I don't have the T-nuts for it. It's not like I've got packs of T-nuts around. Wow, I've sent out a lot of M1 so far. 24 sets. A little less would be what we've had. So I've sent out like 20. But we will ship what we can today in order of purchase. I think we're going to jump into Sherlock Holmes today.
So these massive doors.
And we are going to continue on We can't have too many videos left. Said that the last 3 times. Wow, we do have a lot of videos left. It's like 40.
Walking in your sleep? No, Dr. Watson. And even if I were, I could not have walked through a lock and bolt the door.
Let's start over.
Now, Dr. Watson, what about the adventure of the Carpathian horse? It all began with this very letter which I have here in my hand, Mr. Bell. A letter from a most prosaic father solicitors. Holmes and I were at breakfast one spring morning in June 902.
All right, is that a fair volume? I think so.
South African War. Holmes had been bored and restless since the conclusion of our last case, and this was the first time that I heard him laugh again. I must say, Watson, that the Morning Post has brought at least one unusual communication. For a mixture of the modern and the medieval, of the practical and the wildly fanciful, this letter is really the limit. Oh? Why, Holmes? Listen. 24 Gray's Inn, London, June the 4th. Re-vampires. What? Re-vampires. The legal mind is always precise, no matter how off the subject. The letter goes on as follows. Mr. Sherlock Holmes, sir, our client, Count Paul Romani of Grasmere in Carpathia, whose trustees we are, has made inquiry from us in the communication of even date concerning vampires and demoniac possession. As our firm specializes entirely in trusteeships and chancery work,
Oh, it's the girl who bites the baby.
and we trust that you will be able to take the matter in hand. We hope you
But
will
she's
go
sucking
on
the
to
blood.
develop
She's sucking the
ideas
poison
with a
out of
view
it,
toward undertaking the case.
and they
These
think
are
that she's
grossly admirable.
they're beating the
Remain,
boy.
sir, faithfully yours,
Oh, she's beating him.
Wilkinson, Entwistle, and Dodd. God, Holmes, that's the weirdest farrago of legal jargon and sheer nonsense. I wonder, Watson. The mention of Carpathia is most significant. Significant what? For one thing, that remote and mountainous section of southeastern Europe has been the stronghold for centuries of all the legends of vampirism. Oh, rubbish. Oh, come, Watson. Where's your spirit of adventure? After weeks of lying in the doldrums, here's a fresh breeze from the unexpected environs of Gray's Inn. Come on, it's a beautiful morning for a walk. Where to? Wilkinson, Entwistle, and Dodd. And then I hope Carpathia.
He's a tired old piece of sandpaper right here.
Really, Holmes, of all the forsaken spots that I've ever seen, this is the worst. On a lichen site, on a sign of human habitation. You dragged it 2/3 of the way across Europe, on what will unquestionably prove a wild goose chase. At least we have our fishing rods with us, my dear fellow, and we can always console ourselves with the promise of some of the best trout streams to be found anywhere. And you must admit that this mountainous Carpathian country offers some superb scenery. I might admit it if I could see it, as it's black as the ace of spades. I'm afraid. Ah, there we are. Here, look out of the window this side. And there are the lights of the castle. Careful what you say, I must say. When did that fellow Atterbury say that it had been built? The first Count Romani built it in 1410. 1410? That's given it almost 500 years of its century. It'll be a pile of stone if ever I saw one. Look at all those turrets, battlements. Probably dapper inside and out. Well, we'll soon see. Careful with that luggage, driver, careful. Here you are, my man. Follow that, driver. I think the devil was after the way he drove off. He shut us the moment he heard our destination. Evidently, the Count's local reputation is not an enviable one. The Count says we're getting a very warm reception. They must have heard us, driver. Here's the dog. I can't see any sign of a bell. They seem a trifle short of modern conveniences. Let's try the knocker. I really think this is perfectly outrageous, Holmes. Where the devil is it? It's the man. What's it? It's the man. Or now. Do you speak English? What you want? Nobody can come in. Count Romani, I see nobody. Count Romani is expecting us. Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. You got the letter? Yes. Here. Come. Holmes, look at these walls. Such a oozing dampness. You, wait here. There, Watson. That's better, isn't it? That fire will take the chill out of your bones. I need something to counteract the effect of all those tablet portraits. I'm looking up. Are they? Remarkably interesting to Curious how the family likeness remains unmistakable through so many generations. Well, judging from the look of that fellow in the wig, cirrhosis of the liver must have been another of the family's inheritances. Hard-picking crew, Comrade. Careful, Mr. Knowles. I'm Count Roman. I can't tell you how glad I am to see you. Thank you, Count Roman. This is my colleague, Dr. Watson. How do you do? Dr. Watson, it was good of you to come so far. Something to drink, gentlemen? Something very well, thank you. Good. I don't know just how much my solicitors in London may have told you, Mr. Holmes. Very little, Count Roman. So little, in fact, that I must confess my surprise at your perfect command of our language. Oh, well, my father had been educated in England. Very sound, sir. Couldn't do better. Sit down, gentlemen. Sit down. I hardly know where to begin my story. The whole thing is so horrible. Perhaps it will make it a bit easier for you if I tell you that Mr. Atterbury showed me your letters to him. Then you know that I believe I'm going mad. Or worse. Oh, Dr. Watson will bear me out, Count Romany, when I tell you that people who really are on the verge of insanity never think it of themselves. That's quite true, quite true. I wish I could share that belief. But you see these portraits of my family. There have been strange legends coming down through the years of occasional weird and nameless horrors that have taken possession of each fourth generation. Before Romany died mad, the aide lived out his life in the locked and guarded tower of the castle. And I am the 12th Romany. All old families have legends. That's hardly a basis for any fear. I quite agree with you. But some months ago my father died and I became the 12th Count. A few weeks later, I retired to bed one evening after reading quietly here in the library, only to undergo a dream of such vividness that I shall never forget it. I dreamt of brightly colored corridors, their length stretched endlessly into the distance, their walls echoing with strange, unworldly music. In my dream, I hurried from empty room to empty room, through floods of brilliant, varicolored light. I saw no people, no living thing, only the rooms of ruby and gold and jet and sapphire and emerald. At times the music seemed to be far away, thin and cold as though coming from the depths of interstellar space. And then again it would seem so near that I was certain I would find its source in the next room that I entered. In my endless search for I knew not what.
Oh, shoot.
At last, after I answered time, I awoke to find myself in my own bedroom. Oh, but my dear fellow, vivid dreams, nothing unusual. It wasn't a dream, Doctor. It was what I saw upon awaking in my room. My door was still locked, but the rug bore the imprint of wet and naked feet. And across the foot of my bed there lay, still dripping, some strands of weed from the moat of the castle. Surely there's a natural explanation for that. Yes, my boy. Are you by any chance subject to walking in your sleep? No, Dr. Watson. And even if I were, I could not have walked through a locked and bolted door. And the windows? The windows of my room give on the wall of the castle that drops sheer for 60 feet. Nothing but a fly could go up or down. Well, Mr. Holmes, the next morning, a dog belonging to one of the local woodcutters was found dead in the castle moat, and with no blood left in his body. And the next time, Count Romany, I'm certain there must have been repetitions to bring you to your present fear.
This one had a fault in the bottom, a crack in it.
The brilliantly colored rooms. Again, I heard the unearthly music. And when you awoke, I was in my bed. And for a moment, I thought that nothing was wrong. Then, when I turned up the lamp, I saw streaks of gray across my bedspread and grayish footprints upon the rug. Dust, Mr. Holmes. And a moment later, I received horrible confirmation of its source. For lying beside me on the pillow was the heavy, ancient, wrought-iron key which unlocked the burial vaults of the Roman Empire. Extraordinary thing. Since your action in sending for me shows that you don't lack for moral courage, Count Romany, I'm certain that you paid an immediate visit to your family vault. Quite right, Mr. Holmes, quite right. In the company of my cousin Peter and several of the servants, and with torches to light our way, we visited the subterranean vault which is cut into the mountainside under the castle. And you found? We found that the coffins of the 4th and 8th Count Romany had been opened. Their lids shut aside, and the bones of my ancestors tumbled out upon the stone. The local priest spoke learnedly of exorcism as possession by the devils, but he could not put an end to my dreams. The servants have run away in superstitious fear, all except old Anton, who admitted you. The peasants flee at the sight of me. Only my cousin Peter Hallis, who has stayed bravely and loyal at my side, still remains with
It's
me.
Peter. Definitely Peter.
Mr. Holmes, am I mad? Tell me, am I mad? Or am I cursed by some fearful family taint? All that I can tell you at the moment, Count Romani, is that the priest was not mistaken when he said the devil has been at work here. I must apologize, gentlemen, for our limited cuisine. But with all of the staff gone except old Anton, our meals are rather scratchy. Oh, my dear Count Romani, your wine cellar more makes up for it. You know, if you would take my prescription for and get out on a horse every day for a few hours hunting, you would have a better appetite. My cousin Peter is quite a materialist, gentlemen. He believes that all the evils of the flesh and the spirit can be cured by enough exercise. And I will wager that Dr. Watson agrees with me, huh? And Dr. Well, it's good deal to be said for your theory, Mr. Harris. Mens sana in corpore sano, you know? Your cousin is, of course, familiar with the events you described to us earlier, Count Romani. Of course, Mr. Holmes. And no secrets from good old Peter here. And what is your opinion of these strange events, Mr. Harris? Too much reading, too much thinking, too much brooding about the sins of our ancestors. I only hope that you and Dr. Watson can persuade Paul that all these dreams of his are just a lot of nonsense. Oh, I hope so, too, I assure you. Now, gentlemen, I imagine you're ready to retire. You've had a long and wearying trip. A ring for Anton. Should there be a recurrence of your dreams, Count Romani, please call me the instant you awaken. Well, Death Walls will do, Death Walls. I shall have no trouble sleeping tonight. I'm afraid you will, Watson. Huh? I intend that one of us shall keep the Count's door under observation all night. Say why? No doubt in your mind the poor chap is definitely unbalanced, is there? Is that your opinion? Certainly. This cake of delusions I overheard. Poor chap absolutely certifiable. Nevertheless, Watson, we shall keep watch. I'll take the first, and I shall call you at midnight.
Had to put two aside so far.
What's the matter? Watson, wake up. No. What's up? I thought you were on watch. I must have dropped off. I can't understand how. What is it? The Count. Count quick. Look, Mr. Holmes, my cousin. Dead in his face. Heavens, Holmes. There's blood smeared all over his hands and on the bedclothes. But no sign of a wound. Just a minute. I can feel his pulse. He's only fainted. Now, what happened? I heard him cry out. Ran down to his room. The door was half open and Paul was lying across the bed. Just as you see him now. It is the curse of the Romans. Anton, stop that nonsense. No nonsense. Priests say my master possessed by evil spirits. What's that? Sounds like someone riding hard. Coming this way. I've approached the door. You were right, Holmes. I can't find any sign of a wound on his body. I can't imagine where the blood came from. I very much fear that I can. What do you mean? Holmes? Holmes? Count Roman. I dream, Holmes. I dream. I had it again tonight. Holmes. Holmes. Mr. Holmes. That's the police inspector from Grasmere. A young girl was murdered tonight. Oh, no. And the prints of a man's naked feet led directly here to the castle. In just a moment, we'll find out what happens next in the strange case of Count Romani. Men, when you buy a hair tonic, get your money's worth. Enjoy the extra advantages of Kreml hair tonic. No other hair tonic keeps the hair more neatly groomed and attractive looking. But Kreml does lots more than keep hair looking handsome. You simply can't beat Kreml to lubricate a dry scalp. At the same time, it removes itchy loose dandruff and leaves the scalp feeling so alive and invigorated. No wonder Kreml is preferred among America's most successful men. Buy any drug counter. Ask for an application at your barbershop. Use Kreml daily for better groomed hair, a more hygienic scalp. Kreml, Kreml hair tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, what happened after Count Romani's third and most terrible dream?
Well, Romani was in such a state of profound shock over the horror that had taken place that I thought it best to administer a strong sedative. Leaving Anton to watch over his master, Holmes and I, with Mr. Peter Hallish to act as interpreter, drove down with the police inspector to the home of the murdered girl.
Ask the inspector to bring that lamp a little nearer, will you, Mr. Hallish? Jose de Olemba.
Simply shocking. Her injuries look as though they've been done by a wild animal.
You're quite right, Watson. My poor cousin.
No court could hold him legally responsible. He'd have to put away a course. Hello, what's all that shouting outside?
It's the peasants. The news must have spread. They're shouting, "Do we our fellow Goldstein, flood the castle? Put out all vampire! Death to the vampire! Akazuk sail! Bring them!"
Holmes, we better drive back to the castle immediately. That mob's in an angry temper. They must be allowed to wreak their vengeance on that poor mad boy.
Right, Watson. I've seen all I wish to hear. Come, Mr. Hallish. We'd better be getting back to the castle just as fast as we can. As a medical man, Dr. Watson, do you think that there's any chance that my cousin, under proper treatment and care, might eventually be brought back to normality?
Well, I'm afraid not, Mr. Hallish. In fact, these cases generally grow progressively worse. Yes, poor fellow's room. He's still asleep from the effects of the sedative that I gave him.
Anton, is the Count still asleep?
Oh, speak up, man. The bed, it's empty. It's gone.
Gone? He's gone where you never find him. My master no wait for you to lock him up like animal. What shall we do? Where has he gone? Those peasants will be here within an hour.
Holmes?
What are you looking for? Something that should be here on the desk. Something the Count showed us last night. The key to the Roman burial vault. But why should he take that, Mr. Holmes? Gone right enough. Bring that lamp, Watson. We may yet be in time to avert the final disaster. Careful, Doctor. Steps ahead here. The floor is very slippery. This passageway must have been cut out of the very heart of the mountain. Besides, they even rock itself. If all these twistings and turnings have confused my sense of direction, we must be almost under the castle. That's right, Mr. Holmes. The burial vault.
My feet seem to have run out from under me. Broke the lamp, I'm afraid.
I know the passageway. Not much farther to the burial chamber. We will have to go slowly, though. Make what speed you can. I'll keep my hand on your shoulder. Watson, do the same with me. I only hope it hasn't occurred to him to lock the door of the vault at the end of it. If it did, we're beaten. Be careful, sir. The passage bends sharp to the right. Just a bit farther along.
Wouldn't it be more merciful, Holmes, to let the poor fellow take his own way out? After all, the best we can save him for is a living death in a madhouse.
There's a tunnel like just ahead. To go to the vault. Stitch eye.
Must have a lamp inside.
Go first.
Faint, I don't see much. What are all those big, bulky shapes?
Stone coffins of our ancestors. There's something moving over there in the shadow behind that stone pillar. It's a Count. He's got a knife. Look out over there. Careful, Holmes. Let it go. Let me see. Oh, I don't want to stop. Come back right now. Give me a hand here, Watson. I'll cut it. You're wounded. Oh, it's nothing. Just a scratch. Why did you have to interfere? I'd be better off dead. Oh, you mustn't talk like that. Take the lamp, Mr. Hallish, and lead the way. I want to get your cousin back up to the castle at once.
Against my rule to take a drink before breakfast. This morning I'll break that rule. Thank you, Anton.
Sit here, Count Romanier. And you, Mr. Hallish, over there. Anton, lock that door and remain in case I should need you.
Oh, what is the use of prolonging the agony, Mr. Holmes? If you let me finish things down there.
We haven't much time left, Count Romanier. The peasants from the village may be here at any moment.
Well, then turn me over to them and let them do what they want. You know me would never do that, Paul. They will protect you no matter what happens.
And
Mrs. Holmes, are you attempting to knock her Hermione's dreams? The episode of the dog? Nail vault? The horrible death of that girl? I'm not offering a riddle, Watson, but its solution. Your dreams, Count Romany, have one feature which immediately led me to suspect their unnatural origin. You spoke of brilliant colors, of unearthly music, of a distorted sense of space and time. All characteristics of the dreams, or more properly, visions induced by the drug cannabis indica, more commonly known as hashish. And since you showed none of the signs of the habitual drug taker, it was at once obvious to me that your dreams were being induced by someone else. Someone who administered the drug to you in your food or wine on those occasions when they desired you to have one of your hallucinations. But last night, that girl, the blood stains were the final confirmation, if I needed any, that you had not committed the crime. The real killer slipped badly there. It did not occur to him when smearing the blood upon you and the bedclothes that during a 4-mile walk from where that poor girl was killed, the blood would have dried upon you and not come off upon the bedclothes. Peter Hanish, have you ever seen an execution in this country? Why do you address me? What have I to do with all this? Oh, but you would inherit the Romany title and estates. No. In the early hours of dawn, the prisoner is led out, his hands tied behind him, the priest walking in front of the jailers on each side. He is led to the same block in the center of the prison courtyard, where there stands a giant figure in full evening dress, his hands covered by white gloves, his face masked. It is the executioner. Then, as the rigid man is bent forward on the block, the executioner raises his gleaming axe high into the air for the final blow. Have you ever seen that, Peter Hanish? No. I'm innocent, I swear. Do you think a judge will believe you?
No.
Dr. Witch, this speaks true. It was I. You should do nothing to have the hands on you. This is impossible. I do it for my master and for him.
For my master.
No need to look out of the window. It's a drop of 100 feet to the courtyard below.
No need to look.
Perhaps it was
Don't even
calculated
look.
that way. But Holmes, I still don't understand. It's not difficult if you study the facts.
Why does everybody fall out the window?
Why did you accuse me, Holmes?
He's lost like at least half a dozen people out the window.
Suicide, and to see you.
What would happen if it was like on the second floor?
When his sleeve slipped upward and I saw the cut he'd made on his arm to supply the blood, I knew that he was the girl's murderer. But there was only one way by which I could force the truth from him. And I suspected that his devotion to you was so strong that only an accusation against you would unseal his lips. The hatred Arthur must have nursed since childhood. I knew that my father had wronged his family, but I thought that was all dead and buried history. Not to a fanatical Carpathian peasant, Count Romany. Mr. Holmes, you've given me back my life, my sanity. There was never any question of your sanity, Count Romany. I saw that from the moment you first told me about the story of your dreams. Nevertheless, I don't know how I can ever thank you properly. If you and your cousin will introduce Watson and myself to some of your famous local fishing, I'll consider it thanks enough. And that reminds me, Watson, would you mind taking down a telegram for me? This little cut momentarily precludes the use of my right hand. Telegram? Oh, you'll find pen and ink on the table there. All right. Who's it to? Messrs. Wilkinson, Entwistle and Dodd, Grays in London, England. How do you spell Dodd? 2 D's, Watson. Vampires. Gentlemen, I take pleasure in informing you that I have brought the matter of your client, Count Paul Romany, to a satisfactory conclusion. Trusting to be favored by you with any further such commissions that may arise, I remain your obedient servant, Sherlock Holmes.
And now let's join Dr. Watson and get on with the story.
Good evening, Mr. Barkell.
Well, Doctor, your study seems a little better than usual this week.
Yes, my boy. I felt that as tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was rather an exciting one, the men here at Camp Roberts might like me to tell it to them in person.
I'm sure they will, Doctor. Which particular story have you selected?
One that I call The Strange Case of the Murder in Wax. Concerns one of the most sinister mass murderers who ever threatened the peace of London. In the summer of 1900...
Can we just pause for a moment and just take in that that last guy thought he was a vampire because somebody drugged him with cannabis. That's legit. Rawr. That's that Dracula. That's that. It's that Van Helsing silver steak. The silver bullet. What a great name for a strain. I have to write that one down. Well, today I officially am out of bread. I'm out of milk. Almost out of butter. Not that, like, what am I going to even use butter for? I am going to be out of pasta sauce by the end of the day. I'm just trying to become a vampire. All right, here we go.
And the city had been rocked by a series of ghastly murders on Hampstead Heath. Hampstead Heath? Yes, Hampstead Heath. That's a large rambling park in the suburbs of London, Mr. Bartell, and noted as a rendezvous for young lovers. It was here that the elusive murderer, knife in hand, was wont to roam at night time, searching for his prey. All of his victims were young girls, and despite the frantic efforts of the police, each murder seemed to be as baffling as the one that preceded. Finally, of course, as usual, Scotland Yard came to Sherlock Holmes for help. It seems almost like yesterday, Mr. Bartell. The speckless guard stood in our Baker Street room, imploring Holmes to handle the case. Mr. Holmes, you've got to help us. I don't mind telling you the yard's at the end of its rope. I sympathize with you, Mr. Hart, but I don't see that there's much that I can do. Only the police can handle the widespread detailed work necessary for this case. The private detective is helpless. Yes, perhaps if you'd come to Mr. Holmes in the first place, Lestrade, he might have helped you. But the murderer hasn't finished yet. There'll be more killings if we don't catch him, you mark my words. Mr. Holmes, please help us, won't you? Before I commit myself, Lestrade, give me the exact chronology of events, will you? All my information on the murders has been derived from the London newspapers, notoriously inaccurate in matters of fact. I can give you all the particulars, sir. I've been on the case right from the beginning. All the murders have taken place on Hampstead Heath at night time, and all the victims have been young women. Who's the first one? A girl by the name of Oakley, Bessie Oakley. She was a shop girl who worked at Derry and Tom's in Kensington High Street. 3 weeks ago, she was out on the Heath with a young fella by the name of Alfred Smith. What he told me, it was a moonlight night that night, as they sat there out on the Heath. Bessie, give us a kiss.
Oh, Bessie.
Go on, Fred. Don't be so sloppy.
I ain't sloppy. Come on, Bess.
Hello. Who's coming towards us?
Hello.
Here, you, what you want?
Can't you say something?
Look out, Bessie's got a knife. No, you don't.
Yeah, but you hit my Fred. Keep away from me. Keep away from me, you.
And that's all I know, Inspector Lestrade. I never got a good look at him. He caught me on the head, and when I come to, there was poor Bessie with her throat cut.
Yeah, that's your story, young fella, my lad. All right, Sergeant. You can book him on suspicion of murder.
Sir George, we shouldn't be walking on the heath. Didn't you read about the murder here 2 days ago?
It's a fine thing. I take you out in the moonlight, and you talk of murders. Let's talk about us, Marvin, darling.
It seems to me we should talk about your wife.
My wife doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Violet, if I could get a divorce,
There's someone behind that tree. He's coming towards us.
Who are you, son? What you... No, you don't.
Don't come near me. Don't.
Inspector Lestrade, she's dead, poor girl, I know, but a scandal can't bring her back. Is there any way to keep my name out of the papers?
Yeah, I'm afraid you'll have to take your chances, Sir George. Oh, and Sergeant.
Yes, Inspector?
You can turn that boy loose, Weevil, for questioning. The man who did this is obviously the same killer. I'm afraid we're going to hear a lot more from him.
Night edition evening paper. Incident murder starts for fifth dawn. 9 girls murdered on Amsterdam. Night edition evening paper here.
Now, look here, miss, you can't go walking by yourself on the heath. It ain't safe.
Thank you, Constable, but I'm not frightened. I want to be by myself. I want to think.
Well, I can't stop you by law, I suppose, but you
myself.
shouldn't do it. Yeah. I don't know how to handle these modern young things, and that's a fact. Inspector Lestrade, he must have killed her the moment she got out of my sight. I searched the old ruddy heath, but I couldn't find the murderer, but did startle him. Left his knife in the body.
Good, Jackson. The body's not been identified yet, eh?
No, Inspector.
We'll print her photograph in all the papers. We've got to find out who she is. Mr. Bishop, is this the body of your missing daughter?
Yes, it's Rosie. My Rose. Inspector Lestrade, if I ever lay my hands on that murdering fiend, I'll kill him. I'll kill him with my bare hands.
Here's the story, Mr. Holmes. Rose Bishop was the 10th and last girl murdered.
But she was the first girl murdered when she was alone. Eh, Lestrade?
Yes, sir.
You found no clues?
Well, nothing that proved anything when we checked on them.
Let me ask you a question or two, Lestrade.
Anything you like, sir.
You take the obvious precautions, of course.
Oh, how do you mean?
Posted a heavy police guard on the heath?
Why, yes, sir. You had 100 plainclothesmen walking there at night ever since the second murder. But he seems to slip through our fingers.
I suppose you've also posted policemen dressed in women's clothes.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. We've hired girls to walk the heath in couples without
Because he is a policeman.
But the murder won't seem to rise to our bait.
The cunning brute. Yes, Watson. Obviously a morbid madman obsessed by a hatred of love. He'll be hard to catch. Lestrade, you mentioned clues that amounted to nothing when you checked them. What were these clues?
Well, footprints, a couple of cigarette butts dropped at the scene of the crime. Nothing that helped us. The only important clue was the knife we found in the body of Rose Bishop, the last girl murdered.
Because the experts at the yard examined it.
Yes, sir. Didn't tell us a thing, though.
You got the knife with you?
Here it is, Mr. Holmes. I knew you wouldn't trust us. You'd want to look at it yourself.
Thank you, Lestrade. Yeah. Interesting. Well, what is it, huh? This knife is a collector's item. It's at least 100 years old, I should say. Now, keep this overnight, Lestrade. I should like to conduct a few experiments of my own.
Why, of course you can, sir.
Then you're going to take on the case, Holmes? Let us say that I'll take it under advisement. I'll do my best, Lestrade. I'll do my best.
Well, thanks.
If any further developments occur, communicate with me at once, will you?
Yes, sir.
In the meanwhile, I'll smoke a few pipes on the problem. But I promise nothing, my dear fellow. I promise absolutely nothing.
knife in the straw.
That's true, old chap. That's quite true. It must be a very dark thing. And why did you go to bed?
Oh, because I'm afraid I may miss something and found it. Have you discovered anything?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, what?
The handle of this knife is corrugated. On the underside, I observed a slight diffusion in the markings. Under the penetrating eye of the microscope, I found a new deposit, which had caused the diffusion. I have just analyzed that deposit. It's wax, colored wax.
Colored wax?
Colored wax.
By itself very little. But when you combine it with a knife that definitely belongs to another century, it does suggest a certain origin.
I got an idea. Perhaps it came from the theater. An 18th century dagger could belong in a period play. And the colored wax might easily be part of an actor's makeup.
Excellent deduction, Watson.
Oh, thanks, Hubert.
However, my own theory would be that this dagger came from a waxworks exhibition.
Oh, wrong again.
Putty is used in theatrical disguises, but I don't recall the use of colored wax.
Whereas it is used in making waxen effigies, and of course the dagger would belong as part of the costume.
Precisely, my dear fellow. It's a long chance, but I think in the morning we'll make a tour of the various London waxworks exhibitions. If my deduction is a false one, at least we'll have the pleasure of a busman's holiday. We can visit all our old friends who died on the gallows.
The statue of Moriarty is Moriarty. Stands perfectly still all day, every day.
Any town, old chap?
I must say I'm a little weary. This is the fourth waxworks exhibition that we've been to.
The fourth and the last. If we fail to find any clues here at the next museum, we can return to Big Street.
Oh, thank heaven this is our last port of call. I'm so dizzy from looking at waxworks that they begin to look like human beings to me. Did you notice that I asked directions from the wax policeman at the entrance door?
Yes. Not too many people have been deceived in the same way. Here we are.
Oh, Monsieur Levesque doesn't believe in understatement, does he? Look at that sign there.
The Chamber of Horrors. Come in and see the pageant of murder. All the big killers of history reenacting their famous crime. Well, let's go in, Watson. We should feel thoroughly at home.
Creepy in here, isn't it? I've heard that Monsieur Levesque will pay £100 to anyone who will spend all night alone in the Chamber of Horrors.
Yes, I've heard of that challenge too. Are you thinking of accepting the bet?
Let's go up and spend a night here for £1,000.
A very comprehensive collection of killers, aren't they? See, Williams, Wainwright, Charlotte de Blancpillier.
By George, yes. She was an attractive woman, wasn't she? A slim pair of ankles as ever I've seen.
Yes, but you wouldn't have liked her cooking, Watson. She used the most lethal condiments of almost any woman in history. Hello.
What is it?
Look over there.
I was wondering when we'd come to one of your cases. Dr. Grimsby Rylott and the murdered Stoke Moran. Or the case of the Speckled Band. By Jove, Holmes. The tableau's extraordinarily realistic, isn't it?
Yes. One of another old friends of mine are represented here. She'd rather like for a new acquaintance with Rigoletti of the Clubfoot and his abominable wife.
Rigoletti, I don't remember him.
Oh, one of my earlier cases, old fellow. I must tell you that story sometime.
I wish you would, Alva. Holmes. Look at that veiled figure over there. Read the placard in front of it.
The Hampstead Heath murderer. Well, how very interesting.
Face is covered with a black veil.
Is this pure showmanship? I wonder, or does Monsieur Levesque know more than Scotland Yard and I?
Good day to you, gentlemen.
You startled me, sir?
Are you admiring my collection of murderers?
Monsieur Levesque?
Yes, sir. And haven't I the distinction of addressing Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
This is my name, and this is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
How do you do, Doctor? I am greatly honored to meet you both. What do you think of my Chamber of Horrors?
It's very impressive. We're particularly interested in this veiled figure of the Hampstead Heath murderer.
Yes, indeed we are, sir. Is there a face beneath that veil?
I'll let you in on a trade secret, gentlemen. There are unrecognizable features behind that veil. This is purely for publicity purposes. The public always expects to see the latest horrors here. And I thought I'd titillate their morbid palates by having a mysterious figure representing the killer. Of course, if he is captured, I shall add his effigy to my collection.
You think he will be captured, then?
One can only speculate. He's a clever man, Mr. Holmes.
By the way, Monsieur Levesque, does your offer of £100 to anyone who will spend a night in the Chamber of Horrors still hold good?
Yes. Are you thinking of accepting the bet, Mr. Holmes?
No, but Dr. Watson would like to.
I don't recommend the expense, Doctor. It's an ordeal that calls for nerves of steel. However, I shall be glad to have info.
I haven't the slightest intention
Backing down now. Of course you haven't, old fellow. What time shall my friend return, sir? about 11:30 tonight. I'll be waiting for him at the entrance. Splendid. Come on, Watson. Oh, Holmes, good day, Mr. Lebec. Good day, gentlemen. I shall be waiting for you tonight, Doctor. Holmes, what the blazes do you think you're doing? I haven't the slightest intention of keeping that appointment tonight. Well, of course you haven't. I shall keep it. Disguised as you. You keep it? For heaven's sake, tell me what you're up to, Holmes. You didn't even mention that missing dagger to Lebec. No, because he knows something about the murderer. I'm convinced of it. Well, why'd you say that? As we were standing there talking to him, a breath of air from the open window broke that corner of the veil. I'll swear that there are clearly defined features beneath it. So you're going back there tonight to find out? That's right, old fellow. The superstitious used to believe they could use a waxen image to kill a man. Tonight, Watson, we shall prove that a waxen image can be used to trap a killer. Dr. Watson will continue his story in just a second, so I'm just going to remind you that there are lots of ways to make good food taste better. But the easiest way is to serve that food with a good wine, a Petri wine. If you like a white wine with chicken or with fish, you'll love that wonderful Petri California Sauterne. If you like a red wine, then rich, hearty Petri California Burgundy is your wine. But if you don't know which you prefer, why not try them both? Petri Burgundy and Petri Sauterne. Red and white. Don't buy one, buy two. But always buy Petri. Well, Doctor, so Sherlock Holmes decided to disguise himself as you and spend the night in the Chamber of Horrors. Yes, Mr. Burchell, after dinner that night, he began to apply the makeup. It's uncanny to sit there in Baker Street and watch Holmes slowly turning into a very convincing replica of myself. And he did so, we discussed half a minute away. You're probably 11:30, Watson. If I'm not back here by 2 o'clock, you better come out. Oh, so let me come and wait outside, old fella, just in case there's any trouble. No. You'd attract attention. By the way, you recall the name of the last girl murdered on the heath? Yes, Bishop. Rose Bishop. Exactly. The only girl who was murdered when she was unescorted. The body was identified by her father. Lebec is a French name, and yet the gentleman had a decidedly English accent. I should say that he adopted a foreign name as being more suited to his profession. I don't see what you're driving at. What's the connection between the Vec, the owner of the waxworks, and the father of Rose Bishop, the murdered girl? Lebec is the French word for bishop. Great Scott. You think that he knows who the murderer is, and... I know only one thing, Watson. Let me see if there's beneath that black veil. There. Now. How's my disguise? Wonderful. You look exactly like me, but... How do you manage about the voice? I can't understand half what you're saying. In your own case, old chap, that's a handicap that I've suffered from for years. Rubbish. I'm perfectly intelligent. Now, let me see the bullseye lantern. Yes. Watson, I think I'll borrow your revolver, too. I probably won't need it, but once I think it might be safer for me to go armed. Here, Holmes, now. Do be careful. I will, old chap. Don't worry. Goodbye. And if I'm not back by 2 o'clock, you better come to the waxworks and see what's happened to me. Dr. Watson, you don't mind if I search you? Of course not. No lantern, please. The moonlight will give you all the illumination that you need. Dear me, a revolver in your pocket. I'm afraid I can't allow that. Once before, a young man who unwisely accepted my bet left bullet holes in some of my finest waxworks before he finally went raving mad. Raving mad, is it? Don't be frightened, Dr. Watson. Many of the waxwork murderers here are old friends of yours. They'll be good company. I shall come and release you at 8 in the morning. Well, I've sealed all the windows with string and wax. I shall seal the door behind me as I leave. Midnight. The bed is on, Doctor. You still wish to go through it? Very well, then. I shall leave you now. Good night, Dr. Watson. Good night. Pleasant dreams.
Hello.
Small, don't you spring about my shadows.
figure of the Hampstead Heath murder yet? No, I was just about to. Your lantern will be most useful. Come on, watch.
Oh, what have you been doing? Just doing nothing?
Yes, I wanted to give Levesque an impression that I was here for the night, and I also wanted to do some serious thinking. I smoked 2 pipes in the problem, Watson, and I think I know the answer now. I'm willing to swear you'll know the face you see when I lift the veil from the waxen dummy.
Hit the figure.
Now, put your lantern a little higher, will you? That's it. I lift the veil, and who do we see?
Good Lord, it's the waxwork figure of Levesque himself.
Precisely, Watson. An unparalleled example of the self-betrayal inherent in criminal egotism. Levesque couldn't resist the...
Holmes, the waxwork is moving. It's got it. It's alive.
Yes, gentlemen. Which is more than either of you will be in a few minutes.
You re-entered this room by a secret door, I suppose?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. And since you've displayed such a flattering interest in the Hampstead Heath murderer, I decided to remove the wax figure and appear in person.
Look out, Holmes. You've got a revolver.
No, Doctor. This isn't a revolver in my pocket. What would the Hampstead Heath murderer want with a revolver? This is a knife. I feel so much more at home with a knife.
There are 2 of us, Beck. Remember that.
And both unarmed. Which one of you mentors wants the knife?
Look out, Holmes. You want to talk together.
The lantern's smashed, yes. And the moon's fading. What a pity.
Holmes, what was Velasco? Over here by the effigy of Macbeth. How very thoughtful of you to provide him with a dagger, Levesque.
I wouldn't want, my dear Holmes. You can't escape me. I can feel my way in the dark here. I know every inch of this room. You're doomed, both of you.
Don't swing him in, Holmes. You'll make a target of yourself. Devil with that. I'm writing this newspaper. It'll make an excellent torch to set light to the nearest waxwork.
No! Don't burn my waxwork!
Wax on a wooden frame that blaze brilliantly. There we are.
Oh, you devil! You're destroying my night's work!
Holmes, that burning wax is pouring all over the floor. The curtains are catching light. The whole place will burn down.
Oh, my beautiful dear!
I thought this would smoke you up. Quick, Watson, at him again. What's that noise, Holmes?
If you can't do the time.
Well, Mr. Holmes, you've done it again. You solved the case in a blaze of glory. Get the point, sir. A blaze of glory. Yes, Mr. I get the point. Thank you very much. Pass that marmalade, will you, Watson?
Holmes, is that the morning paper you brought with you, Lestrade?
Yes, Doctor. Want me to read you the headline?
Yes, please do.
Hampstead Heath murderer captured in fire that destroys waxwork exhibition. You know, Mr. Holmes, you and Doctor were lucky you weren't burned to death. Never mind the chance you ran of having your throat cut by that maniac.
It was fortunate that the police and firemen were on the scene as quickly as they were. Levesque had the strength of 10 men.
Yes, the strength of a madman. He'll never stand trial, of course.
No, Doctor. You'll end up in an asylum where he belongs. Mr. Holmes, what made you suspect Levesque?
You first gave me the clue yourself, Lestrade. You told me that all the murdered girls were accompanied by men when they were attacked. All of them save one, Rose Bishop. Therefore, if the murderer was meant a hatred of love, he had to be someone very close to Rose Bishop to know that she was a suitable victim. That point alone, which I was shockingly slow in observing, should have told us to focus our attention on the father, Mr. Bishop, alias...
Well, your theory was certainly right, Mr. Holmes. You should have heard his raving after the arrest. He swore his daughter had been ruined, so he killed her.
Holmes, the waxwork figure of the killer, the one with a veil over its face, the features underneath were those of Levesque himself, weren't they?
I'm certain of it, old fellow. You see, he had 2 great prides. The first, his natural pride as a fine craftsman in wax. The second, his perverted pride as a prominent and successful murderer. These 2 prides combined suggested to his crazed mind he make a waxwork figure of himself and range it with the other great killers of history.
Yes, but he was cunning enough to protect himself by placing a veil over the face.
Precisely, my dear fellow. And when he saw us yesterday and we accepted the wager, he undoubtedly became suspicious and removed the wax figure last night and made his personal appearance as the murderer with every intention of killing us both. Yes, we were very lucky, old chap.
If you ask me, Mr. Holmes, you've been very smart.
I quite agree, Lestrade. I think you solved the case brilliantly, Holmes.
No. I've been very sluggish. I solved by circumstance and melodrama what should have been a purely intellectual problem. I'm not pleased with myself. John, I hope that my name has not been used in that newspaper report.
No, it hasn't.
Excellent. I want no credit in this case.
Oh, do you mean to say that you can let Scotland Yard get the praise for catching him, Holmes?
Why not?
That's very generous of you, Mr. Holmes. It'll make a things a lot easier for me.
Yes, it certainly will. Holmes, I can't see why you reproach yourself.
Because, my dear Watson, like the Hampstead Heath murderer, I too have my pride as a craftsman. This case had a clearly defined pattern, and I was unable to recognize it. If you should have occasion to chronicle this story, Watson, and I should prefer that you didn't, I would like you to entitle it The Education of an Idiot.
Oh, come now, Holmes. The education of an idiot? That's absurd.
I know. But if you do tell this story, it will probably end up as a strange case of the murderer in wax.
Classic. Classic. Right there.
Now, once again, it's time to keep that weekly appointment with our good friend and host, Dr. Watson. Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bell. As usual, you're punctual to the minute. Draw up your chair and make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
That's it.
I see that you have the old black tin dispatch box out again, Dr. Watson. I deduced that you were going over your notes on tonight's case.
Elementary, my dear boy. And among the records, I came across some notes of cases that I'd almost forgotten. The shocking death of Crosby, the banker. The Addleton tragedy. Some data on the unusual contents of the ancient British barrow.
Those stories sound pretty intriguing, Dr. Watson.
I shall tell them to you some other evening, Mr. Bell. Tonight, I'm going to recount an adventure that took place in the heart of the beautiful English countryside. I call it The Adventure of the Tolling Bell. Well, that story began in the small country village of Carnforth. Holmes had recently brought to a successful conclusion the affair of the barrow and furnace wheelchair murders. And we decided that a few days' rest in nearby Carnforth would do us both good before returning to our arduous life in Baker Street. We were staying at a small but comfortable inn. Early on the morning of the third day, I remember, Holmes and I were in our bedroom waiting for those two essentials without which an English country gentleman could not start his day. The early morning cup of tea and a jug of hot water for shaving. As we sat there at the open window, a nearby church bell was tolling a funeral knell. There must be a funeral in the village, Holmes.
An astonishing deduction,
There's
Watson.
no need to make fun of me. Pressing sound, isn't it?
I suppose so. Has it ever occurred to you, Watson, that the history of bells is full of romantic interest?
Oh, I can't say that I've thought much about it.
Almost every historical event has been accompanied by the sound of bells. They summoned soldiers to arms as well as Christians to church. They sounded the alarm in fire, tumult, and invasion. And many a bloody chapter in history has been rung in and out by bells.
You seem to be a mine of information on the subject.
Yes, Watson. It's a fascinating subject.
Come in, come in. Good morning, my dear.
Morning, gentlemen. I brought you tea and your shaving water. Mrs. Mickle said to say your breakfast would be ready in half an hour.
Splendid, Mary. Oh, Mary, the church bell is tolling a funeral knell. Do you know who is being buried?
That I do, sir.
It's
I
my.
wish it was me. It'll be my turn soon.
Little thing, I wonder what's the matter with her.
I have no idea.
Perhaps her father or mother just died. Oh, a young man, yes, I bet that's it. Pretty girl. She'd obviously been crying when she came in. Perhaps that's her fiancé they're burying now.
Watson, you have the sentimental imagination of the true storyteller. But we've come here for a holiday. You must give your imagination a rest, too. So drink your tea, remove your whiskers, and we'll go downstairs and investigate those killers.
You like your kippers, gentlemen?
Excellent, Mrs. Mickle, excellent. Never eaten better.
Yes, indeed. By the way, Mrs. Mickle, we heard the funeral bell tolling earlier on. Do you know who was being buried?
Yes, I do. 2 souls are being buried. And one of them was the murderer.
A murderer? Oh, in this peaceful village?
What happened, Mrs. Mickle?
That old Threadgold, the corn merchant, found out his wife had been gallivanting around with a young fellow from Bolton. Put her throat he did and hanged himself. More tea.
Thank you.
The peaceful countryside is not as peaceful as it's made up to be, Holmes.
A fact that I've frequently had occasion to point out to you, Watson. Has the morning post arrived yet, Mrs. Mickle?
Here comes old Gilly up the path with it now. I'll see if he's got anything for you.
Murder, eh? What do you make of it, Holmes?
What is there to make of it, Watson? A jealous husband murders a faithless his wife and then commit suicide. A tragic story, but a simple one.
Top of the morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, Gillian. Any letters for me today?
Mr. Holmes, 2 letters. One of them's got some newspaper clippings in it, I think. You've got a postcard from a Mr. Lestrade. He wants you back in London, man, Mr. Holmes. There you are.
Upon my soul, Gilly, you've been reading Mr. Holmes's private correspondence.
Bless your heart, Dr. Watson. If I didn't read other people's correspondence, how would I know what's going on in the village?
You were right, Gillian. It is newspaper clippings. By the way, you heard about the murder of Mrs. Dreadgold, I suppose?
Heard about it. I told the bell this morning at the funeral.
Did you say that you're the bell ringer as well as the postman?
Bless your heart, yes, Doctor. President of the Choral Society,
Bless
too,
your
as well as being on the parish council.
You're a busy man, Gillian.
Yes, I am, sir. Take this afternoon now. I'm to ring those bells again.
Not another funeral, surely.
No, sir. A wedding this time.
I've heard.
Young Sam Perrin is marrying the Slater girl. And you might say I'm responsible for bringing them together. Got some of their letters mixed up by this. And they looked each other up to exchange them, and I pressed them before you know what's happening. They're getting married. Regular Cupid, you might say I am.
Be off with you, Gilly. Other people want their letters. Mr. Holmes doesn't want his skippers spoiled with your idle chatter.
All right, Mrs. Crabapples and Vinegar. One of these fine days you'll smile, and the world will come to an end. Good night.
Talkative old busybody he is. Oh, Mr. Holmes. Mrs. Lackland's in the old. The poor old lady's most anxious to talk to you.
Mrs. Lackland?
She has the seamstress shop in the High Street. Her only son went on away from home a few months back. I think that's what she wants to speak to you
Oh,
about.
but my friend's here for a rest, Mrs. Little.
I told her that, Doctor, but she won't go away without seeing Mr. Holmes.
Oh, very well. Ask her to come in, please, Mrs. Mickle.
Yes, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, why do you bother to see her, Holmes? Sounds like a trivial matter.
The disappearance of an only son can never be a trivial matter.
Well, I meant trivial for you, not for her.
This is Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson. Thank you. Good morning, Steps.
Good morning. Good morning. Please sit down, Mrs. Lackland. That's it. Now, what's the trouble?
It's Tom, sir. My only son. He left me 4 months ago, and I've not seen air nor eye of him since.
You've had no message from him since he left?
Not one word I'm fed out of my mind, sir.
Have you any idea of his reason for leaving the village, Mrs. Lackland?
None, sir. He was a good boy, and he worked hard, and he didn't fool around with those flippity-gibbet girls in the village. I think he's met with foul play, gentlemen. And I want you to find out about him for me, Mr. Holmes. I've heard say in the village that you're the greatest detective in England.
Mrs. Lackland, I'd be glad to help you, but you give me no clues to work with. I'm afraid
If
that I
it's
can...
money you want, I got £20 in my postal savings. It's all yours if you can bring my Tommy home to me. But at least tell me he's safe.
Mrs. Lackland, I wouldn't dream of accepting a fee. However, I shall give your problem some thought. If I arrive at any conclusions, I'll get in touch with you at once.
God bless you, Mr. Holmes. Good morning to you, sir.
Good day.
Good morning, Mrs. Lackland. I don't see how you can help her, Holmes.
Nor do I, at the moment. But a young man who has grown up in a small village like this may have led a life that his mother is totally unaware of. You said that you had to work on one of your stories today.
Yes, I had a letter from the editor of the Strand magazine yesterday requesting a manuscript as soon as possible.
Splendid. Then you stay at the inn and work on your latest masterpiece while I scour the village to see what may be found out about the missing young man.
There you are, Holmes. I'm beginning to think you got lost.
I trust you had a profitable session with pen and paper.
Well, I've done about half a chapter. I would have done more if it hadn't been for those infernal bells.
The wedding ceremony that the worthy Gillies told us about this morning. Oh, I'm tired.
Oh, what did you find out about Mrs. Lackland's son?
Among other things, that he had a secret bloodline unknown to his mother. And the object of his affections was none other than the maid who brought us our tea this morning.
Mary? Doctor?
No, it's her half day off, and I was unable to find her. I shall question her when she brings our tea tomorrow morning.
tea and shaving water.
Where's Mary this morning?
She didn't come to work. Must be ill again. Unreliable girl. And no better than she ought to be, if you ask me. It's no job for me to be carrying tea and hot water upstairs.
I hear the village bell tolling for another funeral. Does Carnforth have a burial every morning? I really don't see how the population can run to it.
It's another suicide, sir.
Another suicide? Good Lord.
Old John Larrabee, the baker. He was expecting some money from his son in Australia. It never came. And they foreclosed on his shop. And he hanged himself. Will you be wanting a couple of boiled eggs to your breakfast, gentlemen?
No, I haven't much of that, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
That woman seems absolutely heartless. She always smacks her lips when she tells us about these tragedies.
Yes, Watson, I noticed it. This peaceful village is beginning to seem strangely sinister to me. And since you have no appetite for breakfast, perhaps you'll join me in a little excursion as soon as you're dressed.
Of course. Where are we going?
To see the maid, Mary. I'm anxious to talk to her before another funeral bell begins to toll.
This must be the cottage home. They said it was the one with honeysuckle over the gate.
Yes, and there's Mary sitting on the porch.
You're not she's coming.
Come here. Good morning, Mary. I'm sorry you're not feeling well.
Mr. Elms, Dr. Watson, won't you come here? I'll ask about my health. Or should a servant girl matter to gentlemen not you?
Oh, you must judge us, my dear. I assure you that
Watson, let's be honest and admit we didn't come here because of our concern for Mary's health.
Then why did you come here, sir?
Mrs. Lackland asked me to try and find her son, Tom. Yes, Tom Lackland. I thought you might be able to help me, Mary.
I could help you, Mr. Holmes. I'll be helping myself, too. Here come Gilly, the postman. Gilly? Gilly, is there a letter for me today?
No, lass. There's nothing for you again.
There must be, Gilly. There must be there.
No, lass. If the letter would come, I'd bring it to you as fast as my legs would carry me. You know that. Morning, Mr. Holmes. Dr. Watson. Left some letters at the inn for you, Doctor. You had a letter from a lady. It reeked with the smell of violets, it did. And it was written in green ink on grey paper, sir. Amazing deduction.
That sounds like your young friend from Daly's, Watson.
Oh, how did you know that? Oh, I mean, I don't have a young friend from Daly's, Watson.
Quite. Gilly, you told another funeral bell today, didn't you?
Aye, sir. But the tragic thing it was. Fate, you might call it. Old Larrabee hanged himself because he didn't get money from his son in Australia. I found him, I did. I was the one to cut him down. And right in the post bag was the letter he was waiting for. The letter that had saved his life. That was a ghastly piece of irony. That it was, sir. That it was. Well, gentlemen, I'll be on my way. Good day. Good day, Mary. Perhaps that letter will arrive tomorrow.
It's the postman. He's keeping everybody's letters. He's doing all the crime because he knows
He's
everybody.
ashamed. That's why he deserted me.
Deserted you, Mary? You speak almost as if you were his wife.
I am his wife.
What?
We were married secretly in Rochdale 5 months ago, come Tuesday.
And he never told his mother?
With a fright, too. She thought I was beneath him. Tom said he'd go away and get a good job and then return here and fetch me back with him. He went away all right. But he never came back or sent me a word.
When he left, did he give no clues to his destination? No hint of any kind, Mary?
Well, he did want to say, Mary, I'm going to clear out to this puddle and make my fortune, even if I have to bury it. And then he said, bury me fortune. Huh. That's a joke, isn't it? I don't know what he meant by it.
I think I do, Mary. Watson, we're taking a short train journey as soon as possible.
Oh, where are we going, may I ask?
We're going to the town of Bury in search of this young lady's husband.
What makes you think Tom might be in Bury, Mr. Holmes?
Because the famous fortune cotton mills are in Bury. It would seem possible that when your husband joked of burying his fortune, he was talking of going to the mills there.
Wherever he's gone, he won't be coming back for me. I know that.
No, don't talk like that, my dear. Remember, you have friends. Mrs. Langton.
do it. Don't hang yourself. Don't do it.
As long as I'm going to be needs me standing outside the factory gates if I were about to coach. Oh, there he is. Home.
Hello, Watson. Permit me to introduce you to Mr. Tom Lackland. Tom, this is Dr. Watson. How do you do, Dr. Watson?
How do you do? Never mind how I do, young comrade. How do you do?
Yeah, exactly.
It must be absolutely shocking. Shocking.
Now, what are you talking
Leaving your dear old mother and deserting your pretty little bride because you're ashamed of her. You're a scoundrel, sir. You deserve a good horsewhipping, and I have a good mind to give it to you.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dr. Watson, but I don't like the words you use. And if it's violence you want, I don't mind telling you I'm amateur heavyweight champion of the county.
You are? Oh. Don't need to become aggressive more.
No, let's waste time on being acrimonious, Watson. Let's get back to the station as fast as we can. The return of the prodigal is long overdue. We must give them every opportunity to kill the fatted calf. Hi, there's Mary's house. I'm dying to see her. And after this reunion, Tom, I suggest that you both go over and see your mother. I'm sure she'll forgive you. Yes, Mr. Rhodes, I'll do that.
Well, perhaps we should have warned her. Your son's appearance may be something of a shock.
I think it's a shock that Mary can handle. She must be out. Door's locked.
Knock again, if you don't mind. She may be asleep. Great heavens! That was a revolver shot.
Come on, Watson. Help me break in the door. Now, Dr. Watson, that was a fine place to break off your story. You left me right on the edge of a cliff. Had the young girl shot herself?
She shot at herself, Mr. Bell. But fortunately, a last-minute lack of courage made her shot go wild. Holmes and I and the young bridegroom burst into the house and wrested the smoking revolver from her hand. I must confess that the union between the two young lovers was a touching sight. In fact, I looked considerably older than I was as Holmes and I stood there listening to Tom, reassuring her.
Mary, darling, it's all right. I'm here.
Tom, you are. You did come back for me. I thought you never would. I tried to kill myself, but I haven't forgotten.
Oh, there, Mary. Everything's going to be all right now.
Ruby, Tom, I'm so tired.
And now, Tom, I think the time has come to reassure Mary that you did write to her. Oh, of course I did, Mary, darling. And I sent you money and told you that I'd be back here to take you to Ferry as soon as I'd saved up enough.
You wrote to me, Tom?
Twice a week. And I wrote to Mother, too.
Then why didn't I get the letters?
The answer to that should be obvious, my dear. Gilly, the postman, deliberately withheld them from you.
Gilly?
Good heavens. Why? I had my suspicions. Strong suspicions. But I had to get proof. Tell me, Mary, the day before yesterday, Mr. Treadgold murdered his wife. Do you know how he learned of her infidelity?
Well, I'm not sure, but didn't hear Mrs. Nichols say that it was through some letters that got mixed up. The letters addressed to her were delivered to his office instead of at the house.
Gilly again, precisely. Surely the whole terrible pattern begins to take shape. No. Yes, Mr. Rome, I'm going to lay a trap. To spring it, I shall need your assistance. Of course, Mr. Rome, I'll do anything. Wait here with Mary until darkness falls. Then muffle yourselves up and go to your mother's house. Wait there in hiding and let no outsiders see you until you hear from me.
Since you two lovebirds have been separated for 4 months, I don't imagine that'll be too unpleasant.
Quiet, Watson. You understand, Tom? Yes, Mr. Rome. Good. Then come on, Watson.
What's your plan, Holmes?
I'll tell you as we go. One thing I can promise you. Before the sun is very high tomorrow, I shall free this village from one of the most subtly evil powers I've ever come in contact with.
Good morning, Dr. Watson. Mr. Holmes.
Good morning, Mrs. Mickle. Good morning.
I always said that Mary was a no-good girl, and now she's killed herself. But of course, I had to come to her funeral.
It's very charitable, Mrs. Mickle, I must say. In any case, the vicar says that the poor girl was of unsound mind.
Yes, madam, you can't blame her.
Well, I'll be getting into the church.
Holmes, this farce is beginning to get on my nerves. What are we accomplishing by burying an empty coffin?
You'll soon see, old chap. Come on, let's slip into the vestry. This way.
Oh, where are we going, Holmes?
Up the stairs that lead to the belfry. Here they are.
Well, supposing Gilly turns nasty when he finds out we know his secret.
Then we must handle him to the best of our ability, Watson.
Well, I must say I do not relish the thought of a tusk so high in the belfry of a church. The man must be insane.
Obviously. That's why his power must be destroyed. This door apparently leads to the belfry. Keep your wits about you, Watson. We haven't come up here to see you at work, Gilly. We know your diabolical work only too well.
Yes, Gilly, we know your secret. What secret's that?
You're mad with power, Gilly. You've tried to control the destiny of this village. In your position as postman, you have the power to give life and death.
That I am, sir. And it's a great power that makes a man feel good. Almost like a god, you might say.
That's sacrilege, you scoundrel. You were responsible for the murder of Mrs. Turngold.
Aye, sir, that I was. And for the old man hanging himself.
You were responsible for John Larimer's suicide, weren't you?
Aye, that I was. Then a big fight tumbled me off the village council. I swore I'd make him pay for it, and I did.
Your reign is over, Gilly. You'll never toll a bell again. The only one you'll hear will be a prison bell.
You can't touch me, Mr. Holmes. You've got no proof. There's nothing you can do.
Don't be I've enough influence to take your job away.
You take me away from the bears. I live for these bears. You want to take me away from them?
You couldn't live without the power they give you, could you, Gilly?
You're trying to destroy me.
You are destroyed, Gilly.
Yes, you've already failed. Mary's alive. Alive? But the coffin they're burying down there
is full of stone. You'll be the laughing stock of the village, Gilly.
They'll never laugh at Gilly. You can't catch me. I'm beyond just
He's running up the ladder leading to the bell car. Come back, Gilly. Come in.
He's mad as a hatter.
Right.
What's he going to do after that? He might set fire to the steeple. Commit any madness.
I'm going to fetch him, Holmes. No, Watson. He drew a knife at his head. And with that rickety staircase and the narrow opening leading into the bell chamber, you'd never stand a chance.
Where's my other one?
Get
Where's
you
my
on the
other
first
vertical?
floor. How are we going to get him down? There's only one way. He's in a tiny loft containing his beloved bells. We'll see how much he loves them at close quarters. I doubt if even he can stand the noise in that confined space. Where's that bell rope?
Come down, Gilly. Come down from there. Stop! Stop ringing the bell!
Not until you come down, Gilly.
Stop ringing them! I can't stand it! You're driving me mad!
Mad, Gilly. Mad with power. Come down here, I say.
I'm coming! Great heavens, he held himself out of the belfry. Holmes, he has the chance of surviving that fall.
I have no intention of forcing the unhappy man to jump to his death, Watson. Though I cannot help but feel that his poor demented mind may find a happy oblivion this way rather than in the confines of an asylum.
All right, where the heck is
It's been a shocking case, Watson, shocking. And once again it proves the old saying that violence does in truth recoil upon the violent. And the schemer falls
Oh, it's
into the
down
pit
over
which
here.
he digs for another.
Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Let me see what you got here. Next week, I think I'll tell you a rather gruesome story about how Sherlock Holmes saved the life and the sanity of a certain Count Romani. I call it The Adventure of the Carpathian Horror.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Now, here we are once more in Dr. Watson's study. Maybe we're not glad to get here. We hadn't had a Sherlock Holmes story waiting for us at the other end. We'd have never ventured out on a night like this.
Pretty bad weather out there, Mr. Bell?
Indeed it is, Dr. Watson. There's a cold wind that chills you to the bone. I had one hand holding my coat collar and the other holding my hat all the way over. I felt as though some malignant deity were determined to keep me from reaching your door. Hear that wind? Reminds me of what I just escaped from.
Oh, it's typical Edinburgh weather, Mr. Bell. Perhaps you've heard that there's no language richer in terms of reproach against the howling wind than the Scots dialect. Snell, Bly, Nelly, Scuthering, to mention just a handful. All of them words that carry a shiver with them. Yes, as Stevenson so aptly puts it, Edinburgh pays cruelly for her high seat and commanding views in one of the vilest climates under heaven. She's liable to be beaten upon by all the winds that blow, to be drenched with rain, to be buried in cold sea fogs out of the east, and powdered with the snow as it comes flying southward from the Highland hills. The weather is raw and boisterous in winter, shifty and ungenial in summer, and a downright purgatory in the spring.
That sounds like a pretty unattractive place, Dr. Watson.
Well, there you're entirely wrong. Nowhere will you find such stark magnificence, such grim beauty. Edinburgh, the great granite sphinx of the north, crouching high on a towering rock, looking across the intervening plains to the waters of the Forth and to the North Sea. Fascinating, regal, splendid, and cruel.
Regal.
Yes, I think this is just the night to tell the story of the haunted bagpipes, one of the weirdest and most gruesome adventures that Holmes and I ever shared. The setting was Edinburgh, and the motivating character, Professor Moriarty.
Professor Moriarty, the man Holmes called the Napoleon of crime.
Exactly.
I wondered when we were going to have another of your famous bouts with Professor Moriarty. They're always pretty hairy.
Yes, and I think I can safely promise you that this is the most hair-raising of the lot. In fact, it's so unbelievably macabre and gruesome that I've never told it to any but to my closest friends, those who know that I'm a truthful man. In fact, sometimes, in the sane light of day, I doubt myself that this adventure really happened. But a night like this brings it all back to me in all its horror. Yes, Mr. Bell, on a night like this we realize that anything is possible.
Now, Dr. Watson, won't you please go on with the story? The shivers run up and down my spine in anticipation.
Oh, I certainly will. As I look back on that particular visit to Edinburgh, it seems that a cold fear settled into the very marrow of my bones from the moment we got off the train late one winter afternoon and caught our first glimpse of Edinburgh Castle rising bleak and menacing out of a cloud of fog and rain.
There it is, Watson, in all its austere majesty. Edinburgh Castle.
Nice, impressive pile of stone. Nice and grim.
No grimmer than its history, Watson. Part castle, part fortress, part prison. Wars have been plotted there. Dancing has lasted deep into the night. Murder has been done in its chamber.
Oh, well, this is no time to stand here chatting. Let's get out of this confounded rain.
Rain, Watson? You are getting soft. This isn't rain, it's just a good Scotch mist.
My grandmother. I'm soaked to the skin and my teeth are chattering like castanets. Thank heaven
Missed
the
my
town
grandmother.
has a few modern hotels. Nice hot toddy at the Royal, eh?
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Watson, but this is not a pleasure trip. We must forego the luxuries of Princess Street and take up our quarters in the old town.
The old town? Oh, you mean that we're going to live in one of those crumbling greystone houses all huddled together on the slope leading up to the castle?
Exactly.
Why, they're nothing but tenements.
Those lands, as they're called, once housed the flower of the Scottish nobility. In the old days, this was a walled city, and space was at a premium. That is why those crazy buildings tower 8 and 10 stories into the air.
Yes, the days of nobility are over. Those tenements are full of goodness knows what.
True. What more suitable dwelling place could one imagine for our friend, Professor Moriarty?
Professor Moriarty?
Quite. You may have noticed, Watson, that London has been singularly free from crime during the last few months. And for a very good reason. Professor Moriarty was not in residence.
Oh, you mean that you think we've succeeded in driving him out?
No, Watson. Let us not underrate the professor. He is not in London because he has business elsewhere. But where? I confess I was in complete ignorance until the day before yesterday morning, when I received a telegram informing me that one of Moriarty's chief assistants had been seen prowling through the graves of Grey Friars. Then I remembered that Professor Moriarty has a particular reason for hating Edinburgh. He's not a man to forget his grudges, Watson. The question is, shall we be in time to prevent his revenge? But here, get into this cab before you catch him, will you?
Professor Moriarty in Edinburgh. Huh. I thought the place was even more forbidding than usual.
Oh, cabby, let us out in front of St. Giles.
Aye, aye. I say, Holmes, why St. Giles? You're not going in for sightseeing this time of day?
No, Watson, we must go from there on by foot, I'm afraid.
By foot in this weather? The gutters are fairly running with muddy water.
No one asked you to walk in the gutters, Watson.
Here you be. St. Giles.
So it is. Come along, Watson.
Gracious me, this rain.
I say, cabby, where's Hangman's Lane from here?
Lush, you'll no be going there.
Why not? It's where we hope to spend the night.
'Tis an unchancy spot, gentlemen. You'll never find me going up Hangman's Lane after dark.
As bad as that, huh?
I'll no stand here arguing with you. It's the first land back of the kirk, if you must go.
Thanks. Here, drink to our health.
Ahoon. There you stand, two fine upstanding gentlemen, hale and hearty, with the black shadow of death looking over your shoulder. Ah, well, then I say I didn't warn you. Come along, Beatrice.
Cheerful individual. Holmes, what do you say? Let's go back and spend the night at a good hotel. You can't possibly find any lodgings in a place like Hangman's Lane.
But we shall, Watson. We shall. They're expecting us. Come along.
What do you mean, they're expecting us?
I mean the owner of most of the tenements in Hangman's Lane has arranged that we shall be taken care of. He is most anxious to have us inspect his property.
Oh, very well. I don't see what that has to do with our search for Professor Moriarty.
Whenever anything curious and inexplicable happens in the professor's neighborhood, the chances are he's mixed up in it. Ah, here's Hangman's Lane. Narrow, steep little byway, eh, Watson?
I don't like it, Holmes. No lights in any of the windows. Usually these tall houses are overrun with inhabitants. Several families to a floor. Look, the buildings in the street look positively deserted.
They are deserted, Watson. That's the most interesting part of it.
Oh, really?
One particular house hasn't been open for several hundred years. But during the last month, the rest of the tenements have been vacated too. Their inhabitants have fled from them like rats from a sinking ship. The rents have been lowered to the vanishing point, and still there are no takers. The people hereabouts seem to think the whole street is haunted.
Couldn't we come up here and look the place over in the daytime, Holmes? Look, already the light's beginning to fade.
Unfortunately, Watson, the phenomena we're going to investigate occur only at night.
Oh, no.
Ah, here's the house let us stay in. There should be a bell somewhere. Yes.
Well, perhaps there isn't anyone to let us in.
I think there will be, Watson. Yes, I hear footsteps.
Over here.
Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson.
Oh, the Lord be thanked. One moment, gentlemen, I don't bar the door. Oh, be pleased to enter.
Go ahead, Watson.
Good Lord, it's dark in here.
And if you'll kindly step this way, there's a broad blaze of burning and candles lit in the back parlour. Canny, gentlemen. This corridor is not as smooth as once it was.
Yes, so I discovered.
This is the place. Please enter.
Oh, well, this is more like it, eh, Holmes? Magnificent old room. Just look at that fireplace.
Aye. For once a blithe bit this old house. Full of lords and their ladies, they say. But here, gentlemen, will you be standing in front of the fire and drying out your briefs?
Not a bad idea. We're pretty wet, eh, Watson?
Wet.
There's a Ranny on the shell you're wanting with, Robbie. A tasty cockle pie in a pot. no. You'll forgive me. I'm on shot myself away.
Going so soon? But we've just arrived.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, I dare not stay after sundown. I'm late to let you alone, but I dare not stay. Dinner fetch your still. I'll return them on early.
But what is there to be afraid of?
The neighbours.
Neighbors?
Aye, the neighbours in the old Hurley house t'other side of this wall.
But no one has lived in that house next door for years.
Not humans, no. No living man has crossed the door saying this 100 year. But there be others. Boggles. You can hear the rattle of their going and coming every night through the wall.
Have you ever heard these ghosts, or bogles, as you call them?
No, I certainly have not. I will not stay after sundown. But the boggles, that's not the worst of it.
Really?
Aye. At times you can hear the sound of doodling.
Sound of bagpipes, eh?
Aye. And that's when they be entertaining old horny yourself.
The devil himself.
Aye.
Ghosts next door move in very high society, eh, Watson? What was that? Just the wind in the chimney.
I would have swore with the devil's door stuck in.
No, I don't think so.
I'll not be waiting to find out. When the skirling begins, they say the horse had said a darn second was singing a dart. Good night, gentlemen, and God
She was frightened, all right. I wish that chimney would stop moaning.
Those two legends, the house next door and the haunted bagpipes, they're famous Edinburgh superstitions. I'd like to hear more about them.
Well, I've heard more than I want to already. Confound that chimney.
That building next door is one of the so-called fatal houses.
Fatal houses?
Houses marked generations ago by the Great Plague. Discipline in the time of pestilence was sharp and sudden. The houses having the disease were marked by a large cross. No one dared enter or leave. Furniture was destroyed and houses sealed up. In those houses, of which one or two still remain, the plague is supposed to lie ambushed like a basilisk, ready to escape and spread sickness and death through the city once the doors are open.
Oh, but that's ridiculous, Holmes, ridiculous. Germs can't sustain themselves like that. At least we've no medical evidence that they can. Should we go to the hotel?
The other legend is not quite so gruesome.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
It's about a secret passage that is supposed to have existed in the time of Mary, Queen of Scots, between Edinburgh Castle and Holyrood Palace, which lies at the other end of town. About a century and a half ago, a piper made a bet that he could walk the length of it. He started at the castle, piping merrily. The crowds were able to follow him through the streets above by the sound of the skirling. Everything was going smoothly. They followed the sound down from the castle along the top of the hill. Just about here, the piping stopped suddenly in the middle of a note. And that was the last that was ever heard of the piper.
Noxious gas.
He pied.
Some say
He pied the piper.
was so captivated by his playing that he carried him off to hell.
Well, what of it? As long as he stays there and doesn't go about waking up the neighbors.
But that's just what he has been doing for the last month or so.
Oh, nonsense. It's just a noisy chimney like this one. Why should a ghost who's kept quiet for over 100 years suddenly decide to return and annoy people?
That, my dear Watson, is what I'm anxious to find out.
Holmes. Holmes. You hear that?
By Jove. Then it's more than just a superstition.
Holmes, it's a piper. The devil's bagpiper. He's playing in the house next door.
Splendid.
So what are we going to do? Want me to inform the authorities?
And have them put the devil in jail? No, Watson, I have a better plan. I suggest we go over and call on the old gentleman himself.
In just a moment, we'll find out what Sherlock Holmes discovers in the mysterious house next door. Men, if you're wise, you'll start right away and take better care of the hair you've got. Remember, handsome, healthy-looking hair needs a hygienic scalp. So why be content with just any hairdressing when you can enjoy the extra advantages of Kreml hair tonic? This highly specialized hair tonic goes in for modern, natural-looking hair grooming. It keeps hair perfectly groomed all day long, looking so neat and attractive, yet never gives hair that cheap, greasy patent leather look. But Kreml does lots more than keep hair looking handsome. Kreml is simply great to lubricate a dry scalp. And at the same time, it removes dandruff flakes and leaves the scalp feeling so alive and tingling.
And if your hair breaks off and falls when you comb it because it's so dry, use Kreml, which actually helps condition hair in that it leaves it feeling so much softer and more pliable. And since Kreml is never sticky or gummy, and because it's such a nice, clean product, you can use it every day and your hair will always look its very best. Buy a bottle of Kreml at any drug counter. Ask for an application at your barber shop. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, what about the ghostly bagpiper? Did Holmes ever really...
No, not so fast, Mr. Bell. Holmes insisted that we investigate the house next door at once. And I must admit that it was with some misgivings I followed him into the street.
Come along, Watson. Oh, another little bit of local superstition I forgot to mention. They say that the corpses of people who died here of the plague sometimes come to life and wander about the house.
Oh, no, we shouldn't talk like that. Oh, this sleet cutting into my face like a knife.
Here's the doorway. Now, find out if the key still works.
Yes, it does smell like a crowbar with a key.
I only hope the lock isn't too rusty. It won't budge.
Thank heaven. Let's go back.
Oh, give me that oil can. Perhaps a few drops of oil.
There you are.
Ah, confound this lock. I would try to break the door in. It's as solid as Gibraltar.
A good deal more solid than the house itself, judging by that glass crack over the archway up there.
Yes, that is a crack. The building is settling, Watson. That crack... Hello, I've turned the key. Lock's decided to work. The door sticks now. Hinges rusty. Come on, Watson, get your back into it.
It's moving, Holmes.
Yes, so is that crack. Hurry, help me close the door before the archway falls on us.
It's a little quiet. I can't even hear the wind. Smells like it, too.
Yes, but there's something else. Something unhealthy. Like a disease I smelled once in the tropics.
You don't think it's true that the plague is still...
Nonsense. You yourself said it wasn't possible. Better light that dark lantern we brought along.
Yes, indeed. I hate pumping about in the dark. I can't say there's much more cheerful little light. Look at those great dirty cobwebs. That old tapestry hanging in shreds.
Yes, nothing has been moved since the plague first touched the house. Look there in that room. That old oak table set for meal. One of the goblets overturned.
Just with the creeps up and down my spine.
Nothing else of interest here. Let's get on to the next room.
How hollow our footsteps sound.
Yes. This must have been the living room of the house. Ashes of a bygone fire still on the hearth.
Holmes, look. There's some people seated in those chairs over there.
Nonsense. Give me the lantern. By Jove, I think you're right. That smell was stronger in here. We'll soon find out. Watson, pull the lantern.
Holmes, it's a body. A naked body.
A corpse, Watson. A cadaver.
Holmes, don't touch it. For the love of heaven, don't touch it.
Why, Watson?
Can't you see? The swollen eyes, the froth of the mouth, the flesh turned black. I've never seen it before, but those are the symptoms, Holmes. That's the Black Plague.
What? That's not possible. That's crazy. Here, let me look at the other chairs. Yes, you're an old man and you're a woman.
All victims of the Black Death. Holmes, these are the bodies of people who died in this house centuries ago of the plague. But they're not decayed. Not possible. We must be going mad.
Tell me quick, Watson. Did women do their hair with fringes at the time of the last plague?
Fringes! Now I know that we're crazy.
Why, Watson? Do you hear that?
It's the devil coming with his piper. He's going to make him dance.
The old woman was right. The house does vibrate with the sound of those pipes.
He's coming, Holmes. He's coming.
Good evening, gentlemen. Dear me, if it isn't our friend Professor Moriarty. I had no idea you were a musician. You admire my piping, eh? Yes, I wondered how long it would take you to find me. Allow me to congratulate you, Mr. Holmes. You're very prompt. Most flattering, Professor. But I assure you it was simplicity itself. You didn't think I'd overlook anything as obvious as a sealed house and the haunted bagpiper who so conveniently came back to life in the first month? Yes, I might have known my little ruse to get rid of my superstitious neighbors wouldn't keep Sherlock Holmes away. Perhaps it's just as well. You've been getting in my way quite a bit lately, Mr. Holmes. I shall have to continue my experiments begun on these three poor devils. On yourself and Dr. Watson.
You mean the plague? You're going to give us the Black Plague?
I really must try my serum on two healthy specimens before I pronounce it perfect. After all, these three, an old beggar, a thief dying of starvation, and a woman of ill repute, they could hardly be expected to resist the disease.
That's very interesting. I was just assuring Dr. Watson that these corpses were quite recent because I was sure that women didn't wear fringes during the last pestilence.
And Dr. Watson was afraid they might be victims of the original plague. But in a sense, he's right. The victims are recent, but they were killed by the germs of the original Black Death. Most amusing, isn't it?
Fascinating. Tell me, how did you discover those germs?
They were in this house. I found a nice little culture of them in a glass of calf's foot jelly, which was on the table in the front room. How they ever survived as long as this, I can't imagine. But here, gentlemen, come into my laboratory. I want to show you what I've done with them.
Oh, what should we do? Black Plague. It's a terrible thing. The man's mad. Humane, Watson, humane. Sure.
Here we are, gentlemen. Quite a nice modern little outlay for such an ancient house.
Yes, it is an ancient house, Professor.
But here, this little test tube, it contains enough of the Black Plague to wipe out the entire city of Edinburgh.
Yes, I rather thought that was your purpose. You've never forgotten how they drove you out at the time of the Burke and Hare scandal.
You know about that?
Quite. Your name wasn't Moriarty then. What of it? You were Dr. Knox's young assistant at the time. Together, you were carrying on some exciting experiments.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Experiments that might have saved the world a great deal of suffering.
But you were short of cadavers. It wasn't you, by any chance, who suggested to Burke and Hare, those two body snatchers, that a body did not have to be legally dead to be acceptable?
Well, what if I did? They only killed the refuse of the city. Beggars, scum.
Right, but they met the hangman nonetheless.
Aye, the fools. What price the death of a few when we might have discovered a cure that would have saved all humanity? Humanity. Bah, I hate it. Ever since then, I'd sworn I'd get revenge on humanity, and the law-abiding citizens of Edinburgh in particular. And now, the time has come. Tomorrow, the contents of this test tube will spread destruction throughout the city.
Not right now.
But in the meantime, you, Mr. Holmes,
We'll see
and
when you
you,
want.
Dr. Watson, you know too much. You shall be the first of the law-abiding citizens to feel the prick of my little needle. Just a moment till I prepare my instrument.
Stop it, Holmes! Stop it!
Do not move. Gentlemen, one drop out of this test tube, even in its present state, is enough to cause death.
I quite agree. By the way, Professor Moriarty, while you are preparing your solution, you have no objections if I play a tune on your bagpipes? I used to be rather good at them in my younger days.
Not at all. If it will amuse you.
Right. Watson, stand here beside me against this wall. No words, aren't you?
The vibration is going to collapse the house on Moriarty.
Oh, the house is vibrating. I can feel the wall quiver. That's the note that does it. Hold on there. You're shaking the house. The foundation. I can hear them cracking. Look out, man. You'll bring the house down. That's what we intend to do.
Yes.
The walls. I've got to get
Oh,
out of here.
good
Can't see.
walls.
The front door's blocked. The secret passage in the basement. If I can reach it in time. Holmes, he's got the test tube. It's spreading across the floor. Watson, step back into the fireplace. Hurry. Sir, Mr. Bell, Holmes played that note on the bagpipes until the house crashed in upon itself.
But Dr. Watson,
Took
were you killed?
23
Right,
years.
Mr. Bell, no. Holmes had deduced from that crack above the front door the house was weak, and he also guessed which way it would fall if it did cave in. The wall that we were standing against in the fireplace alone will have standing. If you've seen any ruined castles, Mr. Bell, you'll notice how frequently that seems to happen.
And Professor Moriarty, did he escape?
Unfortunately, he did, Mr. Bell, through the secret passage in the basement which he had mentioned.
But the Black Plague and those corpses, what did you do about that?
We left them where they were. We used lurking about in the ruins. No, Holmes simply poured the spirits from our lantern on the old rafters and started a fire. The wood was as dry as tinder, and there was quite a blaze. And fire, Mr. Bell, is a great purifier.
And now to return to the Tower of London, Dr. Watson.
Yes, it was one glorious afternoon in early June. Late afternoon sunshine cast a glow of gold on Tower Green. To the right of us loomed the great old keep of William the Conqueror, called the White Tower.
Say, I've seen pictures of it. Part fortress, part dungeon.
Whereas to the left was Beecham Tower, and directly ahead was the little chapel of St. Peter. Holmes was enjoying one of his favorite forms of relaxation, feeding raw beef to the ravens who still inhabit that spot. The same spot where once stood the scaffold on which was poured out the lifeblood of some of the greatest names in English history.
Here, I'm not so greedy. You've had your share.
Great bloated beastly birds with their evil yellow eyes. How can you endure the sight of them, Holmes? Think of the bodies their ancestors must have fed on.
Don't be so squeamish, Watson. The scaffold which formerly stood on this site was used only for the beheadings of Queens Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, the Countess of Salisbury, Viscountess Rochford, Lady Jane Grey, and the Earl of Essex. No, defense. The rule of political prisoners incarcerated in the Tower who were beheaded on Tower Hill or hanged at Tyburn. There were, of course, exceptions.
Well, naturally.
Archbishop Cranmer and Bishops Latimer and Ridley were burned at Oxford. Sir Walter Raleigh was executed in Old Palace Yard. Sir Thomas Overbury was poisoned. The two little princes, Edward V and the Duke of York, were strangled in the bloody Tower. Then, of course, there was the Duke of Clarence, who was drowned in a butt of Malmsey wine.
I must say, if I had to be executed, that's the method.
Serves you right for making sport of the Tower's tradition.
I love Watson. It's adorable.
Who is the young lady coming across the parade ground? Vaguely familiar. She's holding her parasol so far over her face she can't bottom. Hey, the seashore was running to that beat eater. Now she just missed the old lady with the ear something. What's the matter with the girl? Can't she see where she's going?
Probably not, Watson. She's trying desperately to keep from crying.
Great Scottish Lady Cynthia, sister of that ass Bobby Simon and daughter of the Duke of Balmoral. Now, what do you suppose a little thing like that has to cry about?
And life isn't all beer and skittles, Watson, even for those in Burke's peerage. Yes, unless I'm very much mistaken, she's upset because her fiancé, young Lieutenant Ronald Backwater, has been chucked in the guardhouse and threatened with court-martial and dismissal from the Tower Guards.
Good Lord, whatever for?
Stealing, Watson. He's accused of purloining a precious golden platter. Yes, I rather thought we might run into the Lady Cynthia when we visited the Tower this afternoon.
Holmes, you? Lord, I thought you came here to feed the ravens.
Here she is. My dear Lady Cynthia, is there anything I can do?
No, thank you. I'm quite all right. A tumor in my eye. There's nothing. Wait a minute. You're Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
At your service.
Oh, I don't know what to say. Oh, dear, what did I do with my handkerchief?
Oh, allow me to offer mine, Lady Cynthia.
Thank you. Oh, you must be Dr. Watson. Oh, you're both so kind to me. He didn't do it, you know. Really isn't a thief.
Of course not.
It's all the fault of that dreadful old man.
What old man?
A Stephen Blodgett, the new mayor and governor of the Tower. He's a dried-up old bachelor.
This girl's so bad.
Hey, Watson.
He doesn't want anyone in the guards to get married.
Blodgett.
Logically.
Blood and bullets Blodgett.
Yes, I believe that's what Ronnie and Arthur call him. Arthur can't get married either because his fiancée has many more money than I have. Oh, I hate that old Blodgett and I wish he was dead.
You're not the first to make that statement, my dear. I served under him at my wand where he won his DC. The entire regiment hated his gizzard. Well, he's a magnificent soldier, and as cruel a man as ever ordered his native orderly beaten for forgetting to clean his boots.
Oh, the beast! Why did he have to be put in charge of the Tower? Oh, dear. I'm making a perfect spectacle of myself. What will everyone think?
It's the heat of the sun, very, very trying. Suppose we just slip into the little chapel of St. Peter's up ahead there.
Where it's quiet and dark and cool. We'll pick out a nice, comfortable pew, and you can tell Sherlock Holmes all about it.
smelling salts, a handkerchief.
I'm sorry to be such a nuisance. I'll be all right in a minute.
Quite. As you know, Watson, the premises known as the Tower of London are completely surrounded by the City of London, a self-ruled and regulated community. Its gates are locked at night, and its ancient moat, although it's drained to make a parade ground, is still capable of being flooded.
Sounds fairly medieval.
And the absolute ruler of the entire place, the individual whose word is law, is the mayor and governor.
In this case, old Blood and Bullets, alias Stafford Blodgett.
Correct. He resides on the premises, as do his officers and men.
That's right, Mr. Holmes. Well, last night, Sir Stafford Blodgett invited 5 of the younger officers to his quarters for dinner. The ones who had petitioned to marry this June, you know.
Good Lord, did they have to get permission from him to do that too?
Oh, no, not to get married exactly, but he does say whether or not he considers the young lady suitable, you know.
And if he decides they're not?
Oh, then the prospective bridegroom is advised to give up the whole idea or resign from the guard.
How perfectly barbaric.
Quite.
So you can imagine how jittery the poor chaps were when it got round they'd been summoned to hear the verdict. Dinner was to be at 8, and promptly at 3 minutes past, they sat down at the Stafford Oak table in his sitting room in the Byward Tower.
Byward Tower? But I thought the governor's quarters were always in King's House.
And so they are, but that would be too cozy and cheerful for the old sloucher. No, he's moved to the Byward Tower because it's grimmer, I was found.
I wonder. There's other rather strategic advantages, you know.
Byward Tower, this curious appellation, may Holmes. I wonder how he got the name.
Byward was formerly a synonym for password, Watson. Byward Tower has always been the main entrance to the Tower of London.
Of course, that's why he's moved there, so he could spy on his men as they went in and out.
There could just possibly be another reason, you know. However, suppose you finish telling me about the dinner party.
Oh, it was a very elegant dinner party. Properly chilled white wine with a turbot, and excellent burgundy with the roast. Not that anyone but old Blood and Bullets had much appetite. He eats like an anaconda. Well, finally they came to the sweet. It was served on an enormous golden platter, which Sir Stafford had specially brought in for the occasion.
All right, here we go.
See that other chiller? I'll finish off that last bit of pudding. Gotcha. I want these young hopefuls to have a good look at the design underneath. Ah, there. Clean into whistle. Pass it around, Mr. Pritchett. Oh, very good, sir.
But I say, Sir Stafford, isn't this that King Philip salver that's kept with the crown jewels?
Right you are, Backwater. Presented by Philip of Spain to Elizabeth when he was courting the lady. Hence the rather frank representation of the goddess Aphrodite and all the little cupids. Yes. Sorry, Pete. Rather appropriate to this occasion, eh, what? That's why I had it brought over. Of course, Philip never managed to marry the lady. We hope you lads have better luck.
Did he have to say that? That's bad taste. Easy, Ronnie. Don't get the wind up. I don't like the glint in the old butter's eye. He's up to something.
And now as the port goes round, shall we proceed to the more agreeable portion of the evening's entertainment? Yes. I have here a list of the young ladies on whom you have bestowed your affection for one reason or another. That's not a joke, Backwater.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Personally, I've never believed that marriage was a help to any man's army career. However, there's no ruling against it as far as life to do, I suppose. Yes, now, let me see. Lieutenant Reginald Wentworth, you wish to marry the Honorable Nora Jennings.
Yes, sir.
No objections.
Oh, poor Reggie. I think he's going to faint with relief.
Next, Lieutenant Herbert Woolsey, you desire to marry a Miss Ruby Reynolds. I understand she's an American. Most unsuitable.
But she was educated in England, sir.
I said most unsuitable. Next, Lieutenant Arthur Anderson.
Here I go.
Has chosen a Miss Fanny Venable. No objections.
Oh, thank you, sir. Good luck, Arthur.
Thank you very much, sir. Lieutenant Buford Wellington intended is, let me see, Lady Daphne Marchbanks. Sorry, Wellington, won't do.
But her father is the Earl of Battersby, sir.
Her mother was a Gaiety girl. Right out of the question.
What, Father? Daphne's mother's first rate, accepted everywhere.
Easy, Ronnie. Don't get hot under the collar. Your neck.
Oh,
At last we come to Lieutenant Ronald Backwater, who wishes to marry Lady Cynthia St. Simon. Delightful young lady. Most suitable.
that's a relief. Not that I expected trouble, but...
I have only one thing more to say on this subject. During my tenure here in charge of the tower,
I shall make one further ruling about young ladies who marry into the Corps.
What's that, sir?
As you know, the officers in this outfit are the hand-picked lot. We've always boasted the best blood in the Empire,
Even if we are only younger sons.
my point. Exactly. Younger sons are so often not too well supplied with worldly goods.
That's one of the reasons we chose the army, sir.
Don't interrupt, Confound it.
Oh, sorry, sir.
The pay of an officer in the Tower Guard is enough to keep him in proper style. If he is a bachelor.
Now, what's he getting out of that, Ronnie?
It has, however, come to my attention that men with families sometimes have to scrape a bit.
Don't tell me the old boy's going to get us a raise in pay.
Oh, not old blood and bullets. The Tower Guard is called upon to appear on many occasions of state. During the last Royal Review, I was horrified to notice that the dress uniforms of two captains, both of them married men, showed signs of wear. One of them had a small down on the left sleeve.
Oh, horrors, the empire is crumbling.
Consequently, I feel it incumbent upon me to make a new ruling. Any young lady wishing to marry an officer of the Tower Guard must bring with her a dowry of £5,000 minimum.
Why, that's outrageous, sir. It's impossible. The girls we want to marry, they're from good families, but they're not rich.
Then I suggest you look around a bit further until you find some that are.
But that's unfair, sir. It's frank tyranny.
Backward. Are you presuming to criticize your superior officer?
Yes, my heavens, Ronnie. Why, what right do you... Ronnie, shut up. Oh, don't get the old boys back up. We'll get around him somehow.
Okay.
Oh, I was telling Lieutenant Backwater that you had only his own good at heart, sir.
Yes. I'm glad to see someone in this outfit has some appreciation of my point of view. And now, gentlemen, let's give it clear the table. I suggest I show you around my quarter. First of all, I'll demonstrate the portcullis. Oh, by the way, Shivers, put the
Oh,
gold
by the
back on the
way.
table by the door. And don't take your eye off of it for a minute. I'll take it back to Wakefield's hour myself later on.
Very good, sir. Right away, sir.
And now the portcullis, gentlemen. The machinery that operates it is here in the hallway next to the bar. Wait, I'll demonstrate. I carry the key to the padlock myself. Don't want anyone else fooling with it. You know, here we are. Now then, if someone will warn them below, the bars of the portcullis are dashed heavy. Wouldn't want to impale anyone.
I'll attend to it, sir.
Look out below! We're lowering the portcullis. Ready away. Here she goes.
Hey, sir, that is impressive.
Yes, this portcullis here in Bywood Tower and the one in the Bloody Tower are the only two in England still in working order.
Must make you feel quite safe, sir. Once that's down, no one can get in.
And no one can get out either. But come along, gentlemen. I'll show you my sleeping quarters. This way. I only use 3 rooms. Kitchen, sitting room, and bedroom. Enough for an old soldier, you know. Here we are, gentlemen. My bedroom.
I say, it's almost circular, built into the tower itself. And what a whopping big canopy bed.
I never use it. Here's where I sleep. Here in this alcove. Don't believe any soldier worth his salt should sleep in a bed. My army caught here. Slept on it during all my campaigns. Sleep on it now and always will. Probably die in it. A Spartan life. That's what the army needs. Discipline. Self-denial. Matter of fact, why are you looking at me like that?
Oh, sorry, sir. I feel a bit under the weather. You'll excuse me a moment, sir?
Typical. Typical of the younger generation. No intestinal fortitude. Can't even carry their liquor. Come over here, gentlemen, and I'll see my decorations. Keep them in a box here in the
We're canvassing to go, drive people mad.
I'm sorry, but
Crazy.
the door seems to be locked. Oh, yes, sir. The governor keeps the key in the sideboard. I'll fetch it for you. He's a very cautious chap, the governor is. Keeps everything locked up, even to the whiskey. Which, oh, yes, in the bottom drawer. Here it is. Here it is, sir. But, what's the matter, sir? You look so stiff and funny, like you was on parade.
Well, it's nothing, Chiefers. I've just had an idea. A perfectly brilliant idea. And they ends the tour of the premises. And it didn't take long, what? Shivered. Cigars and bring another decanter of port. Yes. I say, what's become of Blackwater? Here he comes there across the hall. Hey there, Blackwater. In here. Oh, sorry, sir. When I finished washing up, I went back into the bedroom to join you. Well, we're back in here. You missed seeing my medal. Oh, I say, sir, I am sorry. Never mind, never mind.
Major, oh, I mean, Governor.
What's up, Richard? How often did I tell you not to let me a staffer?
Yes, sir. Well, where we are, the platter's gone. What? Yes, sir. Someone swiped the stolen platter.
Women have an eye for value, so take a lady along when you select your new Clippercraft suit. Well, there isn't a test Clippercraft clothes can't pass. Know how comfortable you feel in a long-wearing Clippercraft worsted suit. Here's downright amazing value, and in the fine local independent store that sells Clippercraft clothes. These sensational values, in the face of today's high prices, are the result of the Clippercraft plan, concentrating the buying power of 1,036 of the nation's finest stores from coast to coast. That's why today you pay only $40 and $45 for truly fine Clippercraft suits. Only $40 and $45 for top coats, and only $26.50 for sport jackets. Yes, selling expensive clothes at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest independent stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plan. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city. And remember, that's one of the 1,036 leading retail stores across the nation, where courtesy and friendly service are always yours. The store that is proud to add its fine name to that of Clippercraft clothes in the label of your suit, top coat, sport jacket, and overcoat. And remember also, not every pattern is always available in your size, but keep on trying. It will pay you to wait for Clippercraft clothes. Now back to our friends in St. Peter's Chapel. Lady Cynthia is just finishing the story.
Well, you can imagine the commotion, Mr. Holmes.
Quite. Blood pressure probably blew up.
Oh, it did, Dr. Watson. It did. He lost all sense of proportion. He immediately accused Ronnie of having taken the red
Dragon.
Simply because he was the only one who was out of his fight for a moment.
And also because he'd come back into the sitting room to speak to Sheba, no doubt.
Yes, but he couldn't have done it, Mr. Holmes. I mean, Ronnie wouldn't think of such a thing.
My dear Lady Cynthia, I hope Ronnie insisted on being searched immediately.
Oh, he did, Mr. Holmes. They didn't find a trace of anything, naturally. But even then, Sir Stafford wasn't satisfied. He said Ronnie had probably dropped it out of the window to an accomplice.
Sir Stafford the fool. The presence of an accomplice would mean the theft was premeditated. I gather no one but Sir Stafford knew the platter was to be on the premises.
That's right, Mr. Holmes.
And there's no possibility of an accomplice. Whoever stole King Philip's salver was present at the dinner party.
What prevented outsiders sneaking up the stairs when everyone was in the bedroom admiring Sir Stafford's medal?
Forget, Watson, the portcullis had been lowered. No one could get in or out. No, the golden platter was undoubtedly still on the premises when it was found to be missing.
That's impossible. Arthur and the rest insisted on being searched, too. And Sir Stafford Blodgett went over the rest of the premises himself.
Very interesting. Eh, Watson? And yet the platter must be there. It's probably still there, in the most obvious place.
Why, Mr. Holmes, what do you mean by that?
Ever read the purloined letter, Lady Cynthia?
No, I can't say I have.
If you had, you'd realize at once what probably happened to the platter. Yes, Watson, I suggest you and I go round to the guardhouse and have a chat with the incarcerated Lieutenant Ronald Blackwater.
But Mr. Holmes, they won't let you see him. They won't let anyone see him.
Endurance violates. Yes, I'm afraid the British Army doesn't always observe the rights of the individual as set forth in our common law, especially when there's a blowhard like Sir Stafford Blodgett in charge.
Oh, dear, then you can't do anything for Ronnie?
On the contrary, Lady Cynthia. By tomorrow morning, Dr. Watson and I shall arrive at the guardhouse with a note that should get us by St. Peter himself.
I mean, Ronnie has to stay in that dreadful place another night?
One more night should strengthen, not weaken his case. But be of good cheer, my dear. I think I can safely promise that within 24 hours, the platter will have been found. And Ronnie and all his brother officers should have obtained full permission to marry the ladies of their respective choice.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, you're wonderful.
Oh,
Truly. Indeed.
My friend and I here have written permission to interview Lieutenant Ronald Backwater. And who gave it to? Rather august personage whose name is at the bottom of this part. All right, let's have a look. It's John, the old girl herself. And it says here, you're Sherlock Holmes. Well, I'm never. Mind if I keep this slip of paper? My missus will never believe me when I tell her. As you like. Come in, gentlemen. Please to step inside. All right, this way. It's just a step down the corridor. And mind the floor, it's a bit uneven. Lieutenant Backwater, sir. There's a Mr. Sherlock Holmes and a Dr. Thingamabob to see you, sir. Thingamabob? Such is fame. Mr. Holmes, who sent for you? I am acting on behalf of your fiancée, the Lady Cynthia St. Simon. She still wants to marry you, it seems, in spite of everything. Oh, but she knows. She must know I didn't steal the silly platter. You did take it, however. Don't you think it's been missing long enough? The longer it's missing, the more of a fool he'll look when they find it. Oh, I'd like to see his face when it turns up. Maybe not be but months. Not at all. And I am about to go first to the Bible town and find it for him. Good hunting, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Good hunting. Sheba, your name is Sheba, I believe. Oh, yes. Go to Stafford and Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson have come to trace key for its missing printer.
Doggone.
You can't do that, sir. Why not? Don't tell me it's already been found.
I don't think I printed enough snap caps for the grip packs, ultimate grip packs. Well, that'll be a pretty quick print. Oh, I've got a bunch here.
Always put these medals on for review.
I've got enough for one.
These rules, it's a shepherd. We don't never break any of them. Was that interesting? Very interesting. I'm afraid the illusions of the tower guards are about to be shattered. Hey, Watson? I haven't the remotest idea what you're all doing about Holmes. Here comes the sudden position himself. My fellow, this commotion in here. Who in places are you? Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Dr. Watson. Weren't you attached to my regiment in the Second Afghan War? I joined the boxers just before my war. And why did you stay with him? Because my shoulder was shattered by a Jadale bullet. You needn't shout at me. I haven't been in the army for some years now, and it doesn't amuse me. Bravo, Watson. Watson, who is this unconscious individual? The most famous consulting detective in the entire world, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Never heard of him. Well, he's here to solve the mystery of King's missing solver. Rats! I look everywhere. You could look everywhere. Not here. Oh, but it must be. It couldn't be anywhere else. You probably don't know how to look. And I suppose you do. Oh, I don't have to look. I know where it is. You don't say. It's in the only place it could be, you know. Young Ronald Backwater did remove it from the table. He took it with him to the bathroom, and later, when the bedroom was clear, he hid it in your bed. But that's preposterous. Do you think I wouldn't have noticed it when I went to bed? Oh, you would have. If you slept in the bed you claim you slept in every night since you joined the army. Shall we investigate your army concert? I think we'll let Chivas do it. Chivas, would you mind bringing me the platter that's hidden in Sir Stafford's army concert? Yes, right away, sir. Sir Stafford, I strongly suspect that you are neither a Spartan nor a celibate, as you claim to be. Where did you get that idea? The next time you have a midnight visitor, I suggest you remind her not to leave her garter hanging on the samovar. Yes, the portcullis is a handy device to ensure privacy, isn't it? You won't give me away, Mr. Holmes. I'd be the laughingstock of the entire British Army. Think of my reputation. Think of the battles I've won. Think of the men you browbeaten and bullied. Think of the young ladies whose hearts you tried to break. But I'd change all that. I'd turn over a new leaf. I'd be kindness and consideration itself. Here it is, Mr. Holmes. The blinking platter. Just where you said it was. You go to places. Now, Sir Stafford. I mean, thank you, Jeeves. Thank you very much. Well, Dr. Watson, I never thought I'd hear Sherlock Holmes play Cupid. And very successfully too, Mr. Harris. There were 6 weddings in the Tower Chapel that June. 6? But Dr. Watson, I thought you said only 5 young officers wanted to get married. 5 young officers, yes.
But much to everyone's surprise, the Stratford decided to become a Benedict as well.
You never know what Sherlock Holmes will accomplish, do you?
You never do, Mr. Happy. You never do.
And now, Dr. Watson, what Sherlock Holmes adventure are you going to tell us next week?
Let me see. Suppose I relate the rather grotesque case of the 6 identical plaster busts, which were smashed one after another, and how murder and a fabulous jewel were involved. It is, of course, the adventure of the 6 Napoleons.
The makers of Clippercraft clothes and 136 leading stores from coast to coast have brought you another in the new series of broadcasts featuring the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Our stories are based upon the character of Sherlock Holmes, created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes is played by John Stanley, Dr. Watson by Alfred Shirley. The dramatizations are by Edith Meiser. Sherlock Holmes is produced and directed by Basil Lockridge, with special music by Albert Berman. If you don't know your Clippercraft dealer, write Clippercraft, 200 Fifth Avenue, New York City. This is Brotherhood Week. Let's make it work. Judge every man by his individual worth, not by some label. Don't spread any rumor against any race or religion. And don't listen to the leader. Speak up against prejudice and for understanding. Be sure to listen next week to Sherlock Holmes in the adventure of the 6 Napoleons.
I'm on the motherfucker. I just hate reaching for stuff. This one says your new grip provides 10%, plus 10 initiative rolls on battle and plus 20 knowing exactly when to duck. Grip fortune. This is the first ever GripMotion hex vertical grip hex vertical grip hex vertical foregrip. There you go. Hex vertical foregrip. Very first one being sold. Thank you 100 times over. Get it in the package, and we gotta get it out. Gotta get them out the door.
And now I'm sure Dr. Watson's expecting us, so let's go in and join him.
Go in. Ah, there you are, Mr. Martel.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening. Draw up your chair by the fire. That's it. The tobacco's in the jar beside you over there.
Thanks. Well, Doctor, all ready for tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure?
Yes, Mr. Bartell. Though on this occasion, I'm going to tell the story a little differently. You see, I didn't take part in it myself, so I shall act as a narrator and recount the adventure as it was told me some years after it actually took place.
Told you by Sherlock Holmes, I suppose.
Yes, at the time the story happened, the whole world, including myself, believed that my old friend had been dead for 3 years.
What did he do with himself during those 3 years, Doctor?
Wandered about the world, Persia, Egypt, south of France.
Oh,
2
yeah.
years of his time was spent in Tibet, where he disguised himself as a Norwegian explorer by the name of Circus, his object being to visit the forbidden city of Lhasa. The story began as Holmes stood on the outskirts of a tiny encampment, high in the Tibetan snows, disguised as a Norwegian circus. Surrounding him was an excited group of native guides, their fur-capped faces and shaggy sheepskin coats, making them appear like strange, wild animals, as they stood there gesticulating wildly. The freezing wind whirled great clouds of snow away from the mountaintop that loomed above them. And Holmes told me that he felt a premonition of impending disaster.
Sir, my men will go no further. They say the goddess of the mountain is angry. If we climb further, she will swallow us up. She will bury us. But we cannot go back now. We have come so far, 1,000 feet, 800 feet higher. We shall reach the pass. We shall be safe.
I will not go. We can stay back there in the tents until the goddess of the mountain tells us we may go further.
He is right. We can't go. We don't want to go any more. It's too
Fools! If you stay here in the wilderness, in the village, and the avalanche comes, you will all be buried. You will be swept away. The only road lies upward.
We will not go.
Back to the tents. We stay back here.
Then I shall go on alone. Holmes was the only one who survived. He struggled up the pass that led to safety, Guy Gale whipping round him in a frenzy. A few moments after he reached the top, the avalanche occurred. The tents, the guides, and all their equipment were buried beneath hundreds of feet of flattening, thundering snow. The way behind him was closed. He could only forge ahead. Alone, unaided, he descended the path that led to the plateau beyond. But the goddess of the mountain was still angry. Through the knifing wind and snow he battled on, without food and without, as he told me later, much hope. Even Holmes was helpless in that battle of man against the elements. What happened in that 36 hours he never really knew, except that the wind howled and the driving snow slashed at him without mercy. Finally, his mind began to wander. He became delirious.
Watson, dear boy, hand me my violin, will you? Moriarty, I want to introduce to you the goddess of the mountain. I think you will have a lot in common. Should anyone be made to be clever, for heaven's sake, get me as fast as you can. I think I'll call it chill.
Though his mind was wandering, his great strength combined with instinctive urge for self-preservation must have kept him on his feet. But finally, he returned to normal consciousness to find himself jogging along a rough road in a primitive cart drawn by 2 oxen. The sun shining on him, and a white girl feeding him warm broth from a cup. For a moment, the girl looked at him with a comforting smile. Then she spoke.
All right.
No wonder you look puzzled, poor man. You
You're
can't make up
painting.
your mind whether you're in
Quoting,
this world or
whatever.
the next.
Why, you... And how did I get here, please?
My name is Eileen Farley. I'm a medical missionary. I found you wandering out of your mind 2 days ago, and I've taken you under my wing. We're going to the monastery of Panchapushpa.
I'm most grateful to you, Miss Farley. You have saved my life. Permit me to introduce myself. My name is Sigerson, Olaf Sigerson. I'm a Norwegian explorer.
Oh, no. No, your name is Sherlock Holmes, and you're a famous English detective.
I don't understand.
Mr. Holmes, you've been delirious for the last 2 days. In your ravings, I was delighted to learn that the great Sherlock Holmes did not die 2 years ago at the Reichenbach Falls.
I consider further simulation as useless, my dear young lady. However, I must implore you to keep my secret. It's essential that for a while longer, the world continues to think me dead.
You don't need to worry, Mr. Holmes. I'm a great admirer of yours, and I promise that no one will ever learn your secret from my lips. Try drinking a little more broth. You're dreadfully weak.
Thank you, sir.
Help me, please! Please, give me help!
Another white man travels the road to Pancha Pushpa. Stop the cart! You need help?
My own cart has broken the wheel. We're going perhaps to the monastery of Panchapushpa.
We are?
Good. Fyodor Dmitryevich Dorogin, Imperial Russian envoy, will travel with you. I'm pleased to make room. Спасибо. The cart may proceed. Понимаешь? Your name, please, young lady.
Eileen Farley. I'm an American medical missionary.
I do not approve of missionaries, but you are very beautiful. Nobody will forgive you. Who is this magic lying on the floor? He looks half dead.
I am half dead, corresponding origin. My name is Sigerson. I am Norwegian.
What is a Norwegian doing in Tibet?
I've been exploring mountains. And what, may I ask, is a Russian in Tibet, corresponding origin?
What is a Russian doing? Shall see, my friend. To Holy Mother Russia shall belong Tibet. But now let us begin. We have some hours ahead of us. You like vodka, Miss Farley?
I'm afraid I don't drink.
Origin will teach you to drink. Then he will sing you songs of his native Russia. We shall be happy. Ay, chiki, 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 gore, vashimo, Holmes told me that every note jar is aching weary head. After a few hours, the strangely assorted trio arrived at the gates of the monastery. An edifice, as Holmes told me, of great antiquity and of breathtaking beauty, and built in the shadow of a giant mountain. He was fed and bathed, and shortly afterwards he found himself together with his two companions in the presence of the head abbot himself, a man of great age and infinite wisdom. The faint chanting of religious music could be heard coming from another part of the monastery. As the old man
My dear Miss Farley, my dear gentlemen, I have welcomed you to the monastery, and yet each one of you has come to me separately and asked that he be given permission to go to the sacred city of Lhasa. I cannot give that permission, my children.
Origin has traveled a long way. Russia will be most unhappy if it does not get the permission.
I am an explorer, Reverend sir. Will not that fact entitle me to some consideration?
I too have traveled a great way, sir.
My children, I realize your claims, but the permission is not in my power to grant. Tibet is ruled by our Chinese overlords. In any case, I will ask you to turn your heads. The gentleman approaching us has preceded you in residence here. He also wishes to tread the road to Lhasa.
You have new visitors, I see.
Yes, my son. Permit me to introduce you. Sir Harvey Forrester. This is Miss Eileen Farley.
How do you do?
How do you do, Sir Harvey?
Gospodin Borodin from Russia.
How do you do? One cannot travel the world without meeting an Englishman. God bless you, one thing.
And Mr. Olaf Sigerson from Norway.
Good that, Sir Harvey.
How do you do?
Please be seated. My children, the Chinese ruler in this province has heard of your presence here. He has announced his intention of visiting you. Before he arrives, I should like to ask you each a question. 4 of you, all from different countries, have traveled here to the mountains of Tibet. At this monastery, I can offer you refreshment, the opportunity of acquiring wisdom and peace. What more do you seek in Lhasa? I shall ask you each that question in turn. You, Miss Farley, what do you seek?
I seek the opportunity to bring both God and health to your Tibetan people.
And you, Mr. Sigerson?
I seek to chart the true course of your mountains, and so to bring knowledge to the world.
And you,
Господин, Borodin. I seek to bring about complete understanding between the great peoples of Tibet and Russia. If I succeed, the Tsar and his family may consider turning to Buddhism. Indeed. And you, Sir Harvey, as representative of the British government, what do you seek? I shall not join in this contest of wishful thinking. I merely remind you, sir, that your government has signed a treaty with mine. And was not that treaty forced upon us by our Chinese overlords? No, my children. You have advanced brave reasons, but I cannot help remembering that the streams of Tibet bear gold nuggets the size of hazelnuts. You foreigners, in your pitiful ignorance, esteem gold. That signals the arrival of Watson, the Chinese emissary. Your problems will soon be settled, my children. I will acquaint him with your request.
Why are you smiling, Mr. Holmes?
At the name of the Chinese overlord, Watson, must avoid falling into old habits and saying, elementary, my dear Watson.
Shh, he's going to speak.
Silence! Silence! The abbot has told me your wishes. I will hold conference. American Navy and Norwegian will not be allowed. Only Great Britain and Russia have treaties with my country.
I insist that I have prior right over the Russian representative. George Washington, I represent the Tsar, and Russia is your neighbor. I demand my diplomatic privilege.
Follow me. I will decide these things, not you.
I shall inform the British consul in Peking if this is an insult to the Tsar. Russia will never.
Well, Mr. Holmes, it looks as if you and I, at any rate, don't get to Lhasa.
No,
You look worried. Does the journey to Lhasa mean so much to you?
it isn't that. I'm worried about the potential danger that hangs over this monastery. Violent forces are at work.
What do you mean, Mr. Holmes?
As you know, Miss Farley, I have some specialized acquaintance with these matters, and I tell you that I have rarely seen more clearly exemplified that emotional tension which leads to one thing, murder. That is what I'm afraid of, young lady. Murder.
That was what Holmes was afraid of. Later that day, as the sun was setting over the mountaintop, the old abbot walked slowly in the monastery garden. As he talked to the man, he thought.
Mr. Severson, what can I do to help you? Our conversation has pleased me. You are a man of rare perception and knowledge. I grant you one worthy to enter Lhasa, but I can offer no hope. Mr. Wa has already rejected the applications of both the Englishman and the Russian. He did that myself. He told me they were both very angry and threatened.
If anything were to happen to the Chinese emissary, would you have the right to grant permission for the journey to Lhasa?
Yes, until the new envoy arrived to begin. But what are you suggesting, my son? This monastery is a haven of peace, a backwater far from the troubled stream of life. No violence has ever occurred.
I hope it never will yet. The Chinese envoy was threatened, you say, Reynolds, sir?
Yes, my son.
He has left the monastery, of course.
No. Those who come here, even for a short visit, must break bread with us, sleep at least one night. Mr. Wa is quartered in the cell. You seek
Would you mind if we call on him, Reynolds, sir?
It's all the rose in a while.
Son, though you will but waste your breath in talking to him. He will not give you permission to take the road to Lhasa. He sleeps, my son. Let us not disturb him.
If you don't mind, Reverend sir, I must waken him, if he can be wakened.
What can be wrong?
I think I know. I'm going in. There is your answer, Reverend sir.
Yes. Dead.
Yes, sir. Strangled with his own cue.
Oh, the poor misguided man has taken his own life, my son.
No, sir. Look at those marks on his shoulder. He has been murdered.
But what are we to do?
As it happens, Reverend sir, I've had certain amount of experience with these matters in my own country. If I were to produce the murderer for you with certain proof of his guilt, would you authorize my going to Lhasa?
Yes, since for a few days that permission is mine to give, I will grant it. You fill me with a strange confidence, but how will you find this taker of life?
I can't tell you now, sir, but I shall find him.
All that I require is a little assistance from you, sir.
Of course. What is it?
Let us both leave the cell, post a guard here, and give strict orders that no one's to enter unless accompanied by me.
Very well. But, my son, where are you going?
Before very long, sir, I hope to be on my way to Lhasa.
Dr. Watson will tell us the rest of his story immediately, so I'll just take a second to remind you that hamburgers, hamburgers, are practically an all-American food. We all love a good hamburger, but wait till you taste a juicy hamburger together with a glass of Petri California Burgundy. Boy, that Petri Burgundy is a hearty red wine that's just the best friend a hamburger or a steak or any kind of meat dish ever had. So remember, if you want a red wine for dinner, you want Petri Burgundy. If you prefer a white wine, you want Petri Sauterne. If you can't make up your mind which you want, it's simple. Don't buy one, buy two. But always buy Petri. 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 Dr. Watson, it seems to me that Sherlock Holmes was in a tough spot. There he was, thousands of miles from England. A murderer was running loose. Holmes was in disguise. He hadn't got you to help him on the case.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Barkell. I must say, I think that I always was useful to my old friend, but I wasn't there. So this time he enlisted the services of Eileen Farr, the American girl. Immediately after he left the cell of the murdered man, he'd gone to Miss Farley and told her of the tragedy. As I returned to the scene of the crime, he found that his instructions had been carried out and that a guard was barring the entrance. The dead man.
There's a guard in front of the cell.
My instructions. The abbot gave you your orders.
Yes, you may go in.
Please close the door behind us. I'm sure your nerves are up for this, Miss Farley. It's not a pretty sight.
I've seen sudden death before, Mr. Holmes. In any case, I would dare if you're frightened. I'm so flattered that you asked me to help you.
You were the only one who knew my true identity. That's why I suggested you take my old friend's place. I needed, what shall I say? I needed a sounding board for my deductions. Wait a minute, here. I'll light a match. There we are.
Oh, there.
Now,
Quit
this
eating the
candle.
plants. You're so bad.
Oh! I warned you it wasn't a pretty sight. Hold the candle, please, Miss Farley. Thank you. This isn't hard to reconstruct. Killer stood behind his victim, held him by the left shoulder. So, wound his cue around his neck and pulled back. Yes. The marks are self-evident. Hello. What's this on the floor at his feet?
A cigarette. Dropped as it was burning, I should think. And now it's nothing but ash.
Exactly, ash. Now, which of the visitors the monastery smokes cigarettes?
Yourself, the Russian, and Sir Harvey, the Englishman.
I think we may justifiably omit myself from the list of suspects. So that narrows us down to two. Look, Miss Farley.
What is it?
There are clear traces here to the naked eye, not only of tobacco ash and paper, but of cardboard.
But what does that signify, Mr.
The
Holmes?
case is nearly solved. Come on, young lady. We must pay a visit to Horadin's cell at once.
Arguments. Always, Sir Harvey Forrester, you give me the argument. But my dear Borodin, I am not your dear Borodin. I'm Fyodor Dmitrovich Borodin, ambassador of Holy Mother Russia. I'm no friend of yours. Come in. The missionary girl and the sick Norwegian. Come in. We will drink vodka. And I will sing Russian songs for you.
We haven't come here to listen to songs. The Chinese envoy was murdered tonight.
So we have been told, my dear. Sir Harvey and I are very happy because of his death, are we not? Well, I won't pretend I'm heartbroken. What is it, Norwegian?
You were in the cell tonight at the time of the murder.
Huh? That's a lie.
I have proved it. In that cell, I just found ashes of totally burned cigarette ashes that included fragments of cardboard. Only a Russian cigarette has a cardboard mouthpiece.
What you can or cannot prove is of no interest to me, Sigerson.
He's very obstinate tonight, Sigerson. We've just been having a political argument. Couldn't agree on a single point, except on the danger of the common man. He was telling me of the most extraordinary revolution in his estates. Do you know they chop off one of his hands?
Your hand already. Which one?
As God was merciful, my left hand.
One beneath your glove?
Is made of wax, my good Norwegian. Is made of wax. See for yourself.
Extraordinary. It's more than that. It is conclusive proof.
What do you mean, Mr. Sigerson?
I cannot tell you now. I must leave you here. Let me warn you, the three of you will be well advised to keep an eye on each other. Meanwhile, I will see the abbot.
Why, Mr. Seeger?
Because now I know who murdered Batsun.
The pink fingers of dawn are stealing across the mountaintop, my son. Soon you will be on your way to Lhasa.
Yes, Reverend Sir. You have kept your promise.
You kept yours, Mr. Seegerson. The Chinese soldiers have arrived, and the taker of life has been given into their custody. Before you leave, my son, I want you to do something for me.
Anything, Reverend Sir. What is it?
The hooded figure in the corner is that of the monastery scribe. He keeps our annals. I want you to explain for our records how you knew which one of the three was the taker of life.
It was not difficult, sir. The killer had gripped Batsun's shoulder with the left hand, while the right was used to strangle him. Therefore, the Russian balding could not be the killer, since his left hand was artificial.
Quite so. It was, as you told me, made of wax. Then,
But the glue of the cigarette pointed directly to the Russian. Therefore, it had obviously been planted there deliberately to incriminate him. Now, there is no trained police force in Tibet.
we need no police. There is no crime here, my son. But continue.
Why should the cigarette be planted to incriminate the Russian? Unless there was someone capable of making the deduction from a handful of cigarette ash. Therefore, the murderer was the one person who knew my true identity. Miss Eileen Farley, supposed missionary.
No missionary. As it transpired when she confessed, no American.
No, Secret Service agents of American, German origin, seeking to reach Lhasa before the Russians, and infuriated by Batsun's denial of passage. Any Secret Service is better off without such employees.
She will pay for her mortal sins. May she redeem herself in her next place on the wheel. My son,
Yes, Reverend Sir.
you are about to leave me, and I shall never see you again. No evil and death came to Pancha Pushpa and to my monastery in the caravan that brought you here. I shall miss you, my son. I shall miss you greatly.
And I you, Reverend Sir.
Would you consider staying here? I can only offer you peace, a shelter from the outside world, and quiet companionship.
Three great gifts, sir. But I cannot take them. My work is not done. I must go on.
Of course, my son. It was an old man's dream. One last question.
What is it, sir?
You spoke of your true identity just now. Who are you, my son?
Reverend Sir, I cannot tell even you the answer to that question. One day, perhaps, but not now. Let us just say that I have wandered through a world of trouble, just as you have remained tranquil in a world of peace. I hope, sir, that we shall meet again.
I hope so, too. Goodbye, my son.
Goodbye, Reverend Sir. Goodbye.
And now let's visit our old friend and host, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell.
Good evening, Doctor.
Settle yourself down and get your pipe going.
Thanks. Doctor, last week you told us that tonight's story took place in the Casbah at Algiers.
Yes, the Casbah. I remember it as the place of countless streets winding up and down, past countless cafes where 100 tongues were spoken. And often the street would end in shadowy darkness, which a man would be foolhardy to enter alone. Yes, Mr. Bartell, that was the Casbah that Sherlock Holmes and I knew in that winter of '99.
How did you have to be out there, Doctor?
Do you mind if I tell you the story from the start, Mr. Bartell? It really began on a wintry night in Baker Street, the conclusion of a strange murder in Montclair Castle. A charming young girl sat on the sofa of our lodgings in Baker Street. And
But, Mr. Holmes, you can't be
you'll have nothing more to do with the
My name is
matter.
Smithfield. I found the true murderer of the Dagger Countess committed suicide. Surely the case is ended.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, you found the real murderer. But now I want you to find the unfortunate young man who fled England 5 years ago when he was suspected of the crime.
This is a new development, Miss Tetfield. Please tell us about it.
It's Douglas Milton that I'm talking about.
Oh, yes. He was the heir to the title, wasn't he?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. He was a sensitive, artistic boy, and when he knew that he was under suspicion, he ran away. Of course, everyone regarded
He
him
ran
as
away to like
his
Africa,
guilt.
and now he's became a murderer out there. Even though he wasn't a murderer here, he was suspected, and he goes out there and he actually is like, I'm actually gonna do it.
I'm in love with him, Dr. Watson. We were engaged to be married when he ran away. Mr. Holmes, you've got to find him. He must know that his name has been cleared and that he's inherited the title.
Miss Tetfield, have you any direct news, any letter from your fiancé since he left 5 years ago?
None.
Any clue to his hiding place?
Only this. It's a painting I received anonymously a year after he had left. It was sent from a forwarding address in London. Here it is, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you.
Oil painting. Very good one, too, sir.
Yes. The splendid sense of composition and his use of color is unusually brilliant. You recognize this painting as the work of your fiancé, Miss Tetfield?
I'm certain of it.
Yes. Wonderful use of color. Observe the delicate shadings of that sunset. The brilliant green of the oasis. The scene is extraordinarily reminiscent of the desert in North Africa.
Yes, that's what made me say I was certain he'd gone abroad, Mr. Holmes.
Why did he go to North Africa?
A good place, Watson, for an Englishman who imagines himself to be escaping justice. Remember, the Foreign Legion is stationed there.
You think he might have joined the Legion, Mr. Holmes?
Right. It seemed logical. No questions asked of those who join it, and its colorful obscurity might easily appeal to a young fellow in trouble. Hello.
What is it, Holmes?
Quite a few grains of sand between the canvas and the frame here. Miss Tetfield, do you mind if I pry the canvas loose?
Do anything you like, Mr. Holmes, if it gives you any clue to Douglas's whereabouts.
Give me your penknife, will you, Watson? Thanks, old chap. Here we are.
Can you see anything?
Look. The word Schmidt. I never found a stamp here. Sheriff is probably the flamer's name, and never found is a town some 50 miles from Algiers. That settles it. Miss Tetfield, I accept your case. Watson and I will go to Africa and try to find your fiancé, Gentleman Newton.
Monsieur Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. I have heard of you so often, but I never thought I should see you here at the headquarters of the Foreign Legion. What can I do for you, gentlemen?
Well, Colonel Bresson, I'm trying to trace an Englishman who has been missing during the past 4 years. I have reason to believe that he might have joined the Legion.
I shall look in my records. Let me see. 4 years ago with the 1895. If Sherlock Holmes is tracking him, then I suppose he was in trouble in his own country. If he was in trouble, he might easily have come to us. We ask no questions. 97, 95. In that year, 3 young Englishmen joined us. One of them died of dysentery 2 years ago in Cedar Rajee. One of them deserted 18 months ago, and we have been unable to trace him. The third is my adjutant who brought you into my office just now. He is, I would say, about 3 inches shorter than Douglas Milton. And men do not shrink the Foreign Legion, Colonel. They do not, Monsieur Holmes. I'm the fellow who deserted. Must be our man. Unless it's the one who died of dysentery. Colonel de Brisson, how would you advise us to set about trying to find the deserter? Monsieur Holmes, there's only one place in Algeria where a man can hide from the Foreign Legion and remain.
Oh, what's that place?
The Casbah in Algiers. And
That's our destination, Watson.
Be very careful, please, gentlemen. The Casbah is a place where the law is exiled. The police have no jurisdiction there. The only rule is that of strength, violence.
Be very cautious, I assure you. Goodbye, Colonel Brisson, and thank you for your help. as little as 200 francs can arrange a murder. That gives you some idea of the relative value of the Kevlar.
Good Lord, then you've already spoken to the proprietor?
Oh, yes, a charming scoundrel, the fellow by the name of Raffi. I gave him 500 francs, asked him to set his underworld grapevine in motion to see whether an Englishman living in hiding here in the Kevlar could be found.
I thought you'd come here for a quiet meal.
Get back shortly now. Sylvia's new Bruce. Get on, Raffi. Come and sit down, won't you?
Raffi works fast, does he not, Mr. Holmes? If you find
My friend knows that you're working with me. We'll be found, sir.
a drink first. The tongue of Raffi is parched. Would you have me die of thirst before I give you my news? Vermouth Cassis.
You're news for me, then.
But yes,
Good, what is it?
first you will pay me more money, no?
But I gave you 500 francs. You said that you'd do the job for that.
Can I help it if some tongues are more costly to make wag than others? It took the 500 to get the wag. Am I to have nothing for my own trouble? But the gentleman will pay for it.
There you are.
Nippy. I will drink to your health, gentlemen, both of you. You will pay me more money?
No, but my friend's already given you 500. You should stick to your bargain, my good fellow.
My information is a bargain at 750 francs. It would be a bargain at 1,000, but Raffi will let you have it for 750 because he likes you. You will give it to me, no?
And if I refuse?
Then you get no information, and perhaps I spread news in the Casbah that makes it uncomfortable for you gentlemen to be there.
Wait, Scott, this is blackmail.
I get the money, no?
You're a scoundrel, Raffi.
Of course I am a scoundrel.
Here's your money. Your information.
There is an Englishman hiding here in the Casbah. I do not know his name, but he is tall and fair-haired. I cannot tell you where he lives, but if you go to the Cafe of 1,000 Sides, you will find a girl who sings there. A girl who sings like a nightingale. Her name is Aisha.
All right, everything from Friday is going out.
A girl named Aisha. The Cafe of 1,000 Sides.
I would suggest that you go there in disguise. Two well-dressed Englishmen might find themselves in trouble. For a small fee, say 200 francs, I will escort you there myself.
Thank you, yes. I think we can manage by ourselves, Raffi.
Oh, if your business is concluded quickly and time weighs heavy on your hands, Raffi can take you to some places of rare interest. Dancing girls that wither one's eyeballs with her beauty. For 100 francs, gentlemen.
Thank you, Raffi, thank you. I'm feeling the time will not weigh heavily on our hands. Good night.
You work too hard, gentlemen. You should learn how to play. Good night.
On my soul, I think that fellow's the biggest blackguard I ever met.
I quite agree, old chap. It is amusing.
By the way, Holmes, don't you think that when this case is finished, we might have a time on our hands?
Oh, Watson, you're incorrigible. But I think... What is it? The man sitting over in the corner by himself. And Julius.
His face looks familiar. We've seen him before somewhere.
Of course we have. His name is Oliver Leeming. We met him at the inquest on the Mantua case.
So we did. I wonder what you suppose he's doing here at the castle.
Not on holiday, I'm sure. Mr. Oliver Leeming, if you recall, is a cousin of Douglas Milton's. And that's the man we're searching for. If Milton were ever declared legally dead, Mr. Leeming over there would inherit the title.
Looks to me as if we're not the only people in the castle who are searching for the missing heir.
That's true, fellow. Come on, let's go and talk to the gentleman. Mr. Oliver Leeming, I'm very glad to meet you here. Well, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, won't you sit down? Thank you. Well, the small face in the store has somebody said that before. I wonder if you could spot me over here at the corner. Oh, you super sir, of course. You seem to be in such deep conversation with that scoundrel Raffi. I should like to serve you. Very considerate of you, I'm sure. Why are you here, Mr. Leeming? Oh, I'm making a business trip. This is my day off. As I recall it, you're in the publishing business. Correct. What a memory you have. It seems peculiar that you should be on a business trip here. Are you planning on opening a publishing house in Algiers, or are you searching the Casbah for new authors? Why not? I'm a great believer in encouraging new talent. Mr. Leeming, why don't you admit that you are here for the express purpose
trying to find your cousin, Douglas Milton. Mr. Holmes, you've discovered my secret. The great Sherlock Holmes and his watchdog have their evil eyes on me. They know that I succeed to the title of Douglas Milton. Yes, Mr. Leaving, we know that fact. And you have fathomed my plan to find Douglas before me and kill him so that I may inherit the title. How lucky I am to meet you in Casbah, where you cannot arrest me. Well, it's against time, gentlemen, but I have a head start, and you will soon find out. Goodbye. The best of luck to you.
Extraordinary fellow. He's joking, of course.
I believe not, Watson. I think he labors under the settled belief that the best method of discounting the truth is to state it as baldly, so that it will not be believed.
Great Scott, then we must work fast.
Yes, old chap, we must. I'm sure that we're entrants in a race against death. Let's get back to the hotel, into our disguises as quickly as possible. After that, we shall visit a young lady named Aisha in the Cafe of 1,000 Sighs. And I'm certain, Watson, that it will be the first time two men have ever entered the Casbah for the express purpose of preventing a murder.
We'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just about a second, which gives me time to remind you that if you like the flavor of big, plump, juicy Muscat grapes, you'll love the flavor of Petri California Muscatel. What a wine! Petri Muscatel is the perfect after-dinner wine. It looks good, smells better than it looks. When it comes to the taste department, well, you never tasted anything like it. For a really good wine, remember first Petri, then Muscatel. Petri Muscatel. Well, Doctor, I can hardly wait to hear what happened next. You and Sherlock Holmes went back to the hotel, I suppose.
Yes, Sherlock Holmes quickly adopted the disguise of an Arab guide, while I assumed the role of a tourist. And we started off on our search. Outside the Cafe of 1,000 Sighs, we met with the road shop. Good Lord. It's the fellow we met in the cafe.
Yes, I'll really mean. With a knife between his shoulders.
Dead, Holmes. Didn't we get in touch with the police?
What can they do? Remember, there is no law in the Casbah. In any case, this man is beyond our help. Our job is to protect the living. Come on, old fellow. Let's go to the Cafe of 1,000 Sighs and find this girl, Aisha. The girl, Rafi says, sings like a lady.
Je ne peux, ma petite bourgeoise, ma tante, ma tante, ma tante, il y en a d'autres qui me font le doux yeux, mais c'est elle que j'aime le mieux.
Aisha?
Very much indeed.
I will see if it can be arranged, master. Wait here for me, Watson. I'll see what I can do.
Right, your Holmes. Be careful now.
Mademoiselle Aisha, what do you want, greasy one? There is an Englishman at the table over there. He wishes to talk to Aisha.
Which one is he?
The man who sits at the table in the corner. He's very rich, Aisha. It loves you a great deal. It told me to give you this 500 franc note.
Very well. You may bring him to my room. The door is at top of the stairway, to the right.
Good, Aisha. I fetch him.
I should be waiting.
Aisha will see you, master. Follow me, please.
Very well. I hope you know that you'll be able to handle this, Holmes.
Don't worry, Watson. Yes, I think honesty will be the best policy.
I'm not so sure. This place is a thieves' kitchen if ever I saw one. You better be careful.
First door to the right, top of the stairs. This is it.
Come in. Oh, come and sit over here, Mr. Englishman. Greasy, you may leave us.
Mademoiselle, I will tell you at once that I am not an Alp guide. My name is Sherlock Holmes.
What do you want with me? Why you trick your way in here?
Don't be frightened, mademoiselle. I can explain our mission in a very few words. My friend and I have come in search of an Englishman by the name of Douglas Milton. We have good news for him.
What makes you think I might know of him?
A gentleman by the name of Raffi suggested that you might.
What is your good news for this Englishman?
That he has been cleared of suspicion of murder, and that he is the rightful Earl of Montreal.
That means when he knows this, he will leave the Casbah and return to his country?
Naturally, madame.
I do not know this lad. I have never heard of him. Here is your 500 francs. Goodbye.
Not so fast, Aisha, Monsieur. I've been listening from behind these curtains. Gentlemen, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Douglas Milton.
Douglas Milton, we find you alive.
Excuse me, it's a pleasure to seated at my mission. How do you do, sir? It's very exciting. Yes, I think the occasion calls for a drink. What will it be, gentlemen?
I think a glass of port.
Yes, it would be the most appropriate thought. Toasting the new Earth Montreal. Splendid, splendid. Aisha, bring glasses and a bottle of port and some creme de menthe for me.
You are not going to England. I will never let you leave me.
Oh, stop being so melodramatic, Aisha. Please bring 2 bottles of some glasses.
Very well. I am sorry.
Mr. Holmes, I can't tell you how I appreciate your trouble in coming all this way to find me. But I must tell you at once, there's one problem that makes it difficult for me to leave this country. You see, I deserted from the Foreign Legion.
Yes, we know that, my boy. In fact, that's how we first got onto your trail.
I shouldn't let that fact worry you, Mr. William. I'm certain the British consul in Algiers can arrange to have any charges dropped against a peer of the realm. Oh, I never thought of that.
Here are the bottles.
You must excuse the glasses, gentlemen. Tumblers are hardly cooked, I suppose, but... Well, they won't spoil the flavor, I'm sure. 2 glasses of port and, creme de menthe for me. Only 3 glasses, Aisha? 3 glasses yourself.
I do not wish to drink.
And I insist that you do. Bring a glass, Aisha.
Why should I drink if you are leaving?
Milton, do you know Oliver Leeming? Of course, he's my cousin. He came here half an hour ago and threatened me.
Did you also know that he's lying dead in the street? Murdered?
Well, yes, I did. If we wasn't in the car, I wouldn't tell you this, but Aisha stabbed him. She followed him when he left here, killed him, and then slipped back just in time to sing a song a few moments ago. Oh, you needn't look so shocked, Dr. Watson. Life is cheap in the Casbah, and Aisha is a girl of violent passions. Come on, let's drink. A toast to the new Earl of Montreal. Oh,
Excuse me, sir, you took the wrong glass. You were drinking my port.
silly mistake. I can't bear port. Very English of me, I'm afraid, but after all these years, I don't feel particularly English. In fact, I'll probably find it very hard to adjust myself to the old life when I go back. Perhaps I should say, if I go back. Since you feel that way about it, Mr. Milton, why go? You can take the title and the revenues of the estate without leaving Algeria. You could stay here and live on the income. You could realize that would be possible. You're sure I could do that? Oh, yes, I'm quite certain of it. But if you doubt my word, I suggest we all adjourn to the British consulate in Algiers. They can put you straight on the matter. That's a good idea. Let's go over there at once.
No, I've been listening to you, my friend. You're planning to leave me. Once you go from the Casbah, I shall never see you again.
Put down that knife, Aisha.
I will not let you go. You belong to me. If you try to leave me now, I will kill you.
Put down that knife, Aisha. You've done enough damage for one night. Down, you fool. Put it down. She twisted the knife on herself as she fell.
Oh, somebody turn her over. She's dead, Mr. Milton.
Poor Aisha. It's a bloody path that leads to the Montreal title, sir. I suggest we see that the poor girl's body is taken care of. Then go to the British consulate without any further delay. Now that we're at the consulate, Milton, I suggest that you swear on oath that you are Douglas Milton, heir to the Montreal estate. This gentleman is a commissioner of oaths, and we can go in and see the consul. Very well?
Rise right hand, please, and repeat after me. I hereby solemnly swear that I am Douglas Milton, the missing heir to the Montreal estate.
I hereby swear that I am Douglas Milton, missing heir to the Montreal estate.
Thank you, sir. And now, if you will sign the statement here, these gentlemen can witness it.
There you are.
Thank you, sir. And now, if you gentlemen will sign.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you, gentlemen. The document is now legal.
Splendid. Let's go over and see the consul. Not yet, my friend. Watson, this man is not Douglas Milton. What the devil are you talking about? There is no law in the Casbah, sir, so you cannot be punished for the 2 murders you committed there. Died of dysentery 2 years ago in city of life. That was the idea of impersonating Milton was born. Leeming had to die. Your theories are very interesting, but you haven't a shred of proof. I say that I'm Douglas Milton. How are you going to prove otherwise? Very simply, my dear sir. Douglas Milton was a painter. A painter who excelled in the use of vivid colors. You, sir, suffer from the quite common malady of red-green color blindness. Less than an hour ago, you mistook a glass of port, which is red, for a glass of crème de menthe, which is green. I knew at once that you were an imposter. You're cleverer than I thought you were, Holmes. Goodbye. Here, come back. No, Watson.
Goodbye.
Don't go after him, but we can't let him escape, Holmes. Don't worry, old chap. He won't escape. I sent a message to Colonel Livermore. If you go to the window, I think you'll find that the consulate is being watched. The Legion has a long memory for desertion. I don't think he'll get very far. They got him, Holmes. Shot him as he was trying to run away. That's just death for him. Lived a life of violence and treachery, Watson. It's only fitting that he should die in the same manner.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell. Come over here and join me by the fire.
I didn't think it was cold enough for a fire tonight, Doctor.
Oh, I suppose it isn't really. It was one late, so I just couldn't resist putting a match to it.
Fire's a good accompaniment to storytelling anyway.
Yes, my boy, a fire and a glass of port. Care to join me in one?
Thanks, Doctor. So, you're going to tell us a sea story tonight?
Yes, Mr. Bartell. The whole adventure took place aboard a small steamer that plowed through the stormy seas of the Indian Ocean. Here's your glass, my boy.
Thanks. And what were you and the great Sherlock Holmes doing on the Indian Ocean, may I
On
ask?
our way to Calcutta to solve the case of the vanishing elephant of Parbhuti-Pur.
Oh, yes, the story you told us a few weeks ago.
That's quite
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's in the summer of 1894 that we left Liverpool aboard the steamship Lucifer. It wasn't a large ship, and as both the Mediterranean and the Red Sea proved somewhat, shall we say, unfriendly, I may tell you the first part of the voyage was quite unpleasant. In fact, until we left Aden, I'd spent most of the time in my cabin. I'm not much of a sailor, you know. However, as we headed eastward towards Colombo, the weather cleared up a bit, and I came on deck and joined home. I remember on the second night out of Aden, we paced the decks together. The stars above us twinkled, the promise of a bright tomorrow. And the faint tinkle of a piano being played in the passenger lounge formed a perfect setting for an evening stroll. It only seems like yesterday. Holmes said,
Watson, it's good to see you on your feet again.
It's good to be on 'em, Holmes. It's been a miserable trip for me so far.
The captain told me tonight that we can expect good weather between here and Caravati on our next port of call.
I thought Colombo was a mixed up. And where is Caravati, whatever you call it? Anyway, I never heard of the place.
Tiny island in the Indian Ocean. It's a British protectorate. Those are the only facts I was able to glean from the encyclopedia and the ship's
You
library.
asked Captain why we're stopping there?
No, I didn't. As we are traveling incognito, I thought it wiser not to ask too many questions.
I find this incognito business something of a strain. Every time a steward calls me Mr. Hamish, I can't think who on earth he's talking to.
Whereas I find myself answering to Mr. Mycroft almost automatically. By the way, old chap, now that you are going to mix with the ship's passengers, I suggest that you adopt a Scotch accent. It would seem more appropriate for a Mr. Hamish, and I don't want anyone aboard to suspect our true identity.
Oh, I'll do my best, but I must say, Holmes, I think you're being unnecessarily mysterious.
Possibly I've been influenced by reading too many of your rather florid stories of our adventures together.
My stories are not florid. They're all perfectly true.
Oh, don't be angry with me, old chap. Don't be angry with me. By the way, you'll be interested to know that I've unearthed a little mystery aboard this
I'll
boat.
trust you to do that. Where is she? I mean, where is it?
Oh, you observe that suite of cabins on the bridge deck above us?
Yeah? What about it?
Well, I've been watching them during my nightly strolls for the past 2 weeks. The suite is occupied, and yet the blinds are never raised. And I've never seen meals taken in there. I presume, therefore, that it must contain a private galley and a cook.
There's anything mysterious about that. It's probably occupied by some wealthy invalid.
Oh, possibly. Another interesting fact is that the occupants are not entered on the ship's passenger list.
It all sounds very mysterious. There's probably a perfectly simple explanation for it. In any case, you must save your energies for the problem that awaits us in India. You're Mr. Mycroft now, remember that.
I will, Mr. Hamish.
Mr. Mycroft?
Yes, Mr.
Will
Hamish?
you care to join me for a wee drop of brandy in the smoke room?
Mr. Hamish, I shall be delighted.
Oh, what a fun What a fun character.
Excellent, Brandy. Excellent.
Watson, you notice that rather garrulous gentleman over there in the corner?
You mean the one at the table with the Oriental guitar?
Yes, the talkative man is the ship's doctor, but I haven't seen the other gentleman before on this voyage.
I wonder if he's an occupant of the mysterious suite on the bridge deck.
Let's go over and talk to him, shall we? And remember the accent, Mr. Hamish.
And so, Verda, when we landed at Colombo, I decided to take Mrs. Abbott for a moonlight rickshaw drive through the cinnamon gardens. Did you gentlemen want to see me?
If you would excuse us, Dr. Harris, my friend Mr. Hamish and I were having a little argument, and we thought perhaps you might be able to settle it for
An
us.
argument? Oh, I love a good argument. Sit down, gentlemen. This is Mr. Verda.
How do you do, gentlemen?
Good evening, sir. My name is Hamish, and this is my friend, Mr. Mycroft.
I'm so happy to meet you, gentlemen.
Now, how do you know, Miss Verda?
Now, gentlemen, tell me what you're arguing about.
Well,
I'd love a good argument.
You see, it wasn't exactly an argument. My friend Mr. Hamish insists that the Suez Canal was built by a Dutchman in 1870. I'm convinced that it was built by de Lesseps, a Frenchman, in 1869. We thought you'd know.
You flatter me. I'm only a ship's doctor, not an historian. Ask Verdi. He probably knows.
Can you settle the question for us, sir?
I can, my Mr. Mycroft. You are almost correct. The canal was opened in 1869, though its construction began 10 years previously. De Lesseps, a French engineer, was in charge of the operation. There is a statue of him in Port Said Harbor, built to commemorate his skill.
Much obliged to you, Miss Vera. Hamish, I think that I wet my bed.
If you're sure of your facts, Mr. Werner.
I'm sufficiently sure of them, Mr. Hamish, to venture a small wager myself.
No. I think I'll not make any more bets on the subject, thank you.
Well, gentlemen, if you will excuse me, I shall return to my cabin now.
Oh, don't go. No, don't go, sir. You make it feel as if it's in your way.
Oh, not at all, Mr. Hamish. I enjoyed meeting you both, but I have some letters to write. Good evening, gentlemen.
Okay.
He's a charming person.
Charming and extremely knowledgeable.
Bit of a bore, if you ask me. You two fellas enjoyed the trip?
I'm just beginning to. It takes a little time.
All right, we're
to
getting
get my
close.
legs, you know.
Dr. Harris, how long have you been on this ship?
4 years. This is my 23rd trip east on Elizabeth. Why?
Well, there's something that puzzles me on board this ship. I'm sure that you would explain it to me.
And what is it?
Well, the suite of cabins on the bridge deck, who occupies them?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I don't know who is it. That's why my friend asked you.
Well, I'll tell you. Though it's supposed to be a secret, but there'll be no harm in telling you now, for we're dropping anchor off the island of Cavarati in the morning. In that suite of rooms is the Rani of Cavarati herself. She has her own staff of servants and everything. What do you think of that?
Oh, very interesting. And is the Oriental gentleman who left the table when we arrived asked about entourage?
Yes, sir. He's a sort of Prime Minister of Cavarati. This whole trip of days is very hush-hush. Rani returning to her country. Afraid someone might make an attack on her life. Have to keep it all hush-hush. Cavarati is an island that's had a lot of trouble.
You seem to be remarkably well informed about the place, sir.
Yes, a bit. I used to practice there in my younger days.
Really, very interesting.
Yes, I could tell you strange tales about the island. I remember... Oh, hello. See that fella coming into the lounge?
You mean the big man with the grey hair?
Yes. That's Sir Christopher Wyatt. Owns all the tea plantations on Cavarati. He's a dull fella, but I'll call him over. Wyatt, come over and join us. Be careful. Talk your head off if you give him half a chance. Draw up a chair, Wyatt. We were just talking about Cavarati.
Seems to me that would be a good subject to keep away from. At least till after tomorrow, Harris.
What do you mean?
You know perfectly well what I mean. I should have thought that after your own experience on Cavarati, you'd have learned a little discretion.
You're talking like a schoolmaster, Wyatt. Why don't you sit down and have a drink? It's friendly.
Thank you. I prefer my own company.
Pompous ass.
You and Sir Christopher don't seem on the best of terms, Doctor.
I know too much about him. He's afraid of me. That's what he is.
Look at this girl coming in the room. Great Scott, she's good looking.
Judging by our Oriental costume, she must be a member of the Rani's retinue.
She's coming to our table. Yes, my dear. What is it?
Which of you gentlemen is Mr. Mycroft, please?
I am.
My mistress sends her compliments and asks that you will call on her in her suite.
And who is your mistress, may I ask?
Her Highness, the Rani of Cavarati.
Oh, I shall be delighted. Please tell the Rani that I shall pay my respects without delay. We will join her in a few minutes.
Very well, well, Mr. Lytle?
You know, it's pretty exciting. The girl just brought us a message. It was a stunning creature. Imagine what the Rani herself must be like.
What an incurable romanticist you are, Watson. I suppose you picture the Rani clad in oriental splendor, reclining like an odalisque on silken cushions.
No, there's no need to make fun of me, Homer.
Huh? Here we are, cabin.
Ah, it is you, gentlemen. Follow me, please.
Come in.
Her Highness, the Rani of Cavalcanti.
All right, Virginia, you get off it.
Yes, Your Highness.
Well, me lads, don't look so startled. Come in and sit down.
Your Highness,
What's the matter? What's the matter? Don't I sit into your picture of a Ronnie? What did you expect? This slant-eyed beauty with a veil and big hips? Well, I've got the big hips, all right.
Your Highness.
I'll never find Your Highness. Sit yourself down and talk free and easy like. I may as well begin by telling you that I know who you both are. Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. I've seen you in the good old days in London, you know.
May I ask if our visit is purely a social one, or are you in need of professional advice?
Oh, a little of both, Mr. Holmes, a little of both. And we'll start off with being social. Bruna.
Ma'am Sahib.
Champagne.
Potache, Ma'am Sahib.
if you pardon my asking you, madam, but I've never seen you before.
Oh, that's a question I'm always able to answer. Yes, you probably have, Dr. Watson. You see, I was in the chorus at Daily Theatre in London for quite a few years, until the Raja of Cabarati decided I'd look better on his island than I did in front of the footlights.
Your husband, the Raja, is dead, isn't he?
Yes, he was killed playing polo.
Champagne, Ma'am Sahib.
Oh, champagne for the sector.
Acha.
He doesn't speak English, so I'll get along with telling him the trouble. Mr. Holmes, somebody's trying to kill me.
Kill you? It's good.
May I ask what reason you have for saying that, madam?
You may, Mr. Holmes. Before I left England, I had dripping letters warning me that if I went back to Cabarati, I'd never get to the island alive. Got another letter in Port Said that said the same thing.
You kept these letters, I trust?
No, I didn't. I tore them up. I never did pay attention to letters that weren't signed.
Oh, that's a pity, madam. Those letters might have been invaluable.
Well, it's too late to think about that now, Dr. Watson. Here's what's on my mind. I landed Cabarati in the morning, and if anyone's up to a bit it's no good, tonight's their last chance.
You destroyed the threatening letters, madam, thereby indicating that you did not believe in the threats, and yet you now appear to feel that you are in danger. I wonder what made you change your mind.
The Ace of Spades.
Yes? I don't understand you, madam.
In the last 2 days, every time I tell my fortune, I get the Ace of Spades. Now, you know what that means. Death.
Oh, come now, madam. If you pardon my saying so, that's a very childish superstition.
The cards have never lied to me yet. Oh, you can laugh at it if you like, but I know.
Well, you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Anything you like, Mr. Holmes, fire away.
How long is it since you were in Cavalati?
About 18 months. We were in England when my husband died, and I couldn't face the idea of going back to that island alone. Then 3 months ago, Verder, he's the chief minister of Cabarati.
Yes, madam. We met him for a moment in the lounge.
Oh, well, Verder came over to England to persuade me it was my duty as the Romney to go back.
I see. As far as you know, have you any enemies among the passengers on board the ship?
Oh, that's an odd answer, Mr. Holmes. But I can tell you right here in my suite there's someone who doesn't like me. A girl, Raduna, the one that brought you my message. She was in love with the Roger herself. I know she hates me, even though she did stay with me in England after my husband died.
How about Ferda, your minister?
Oh, he's all right. My husband thought the world of him, and he's been wonderful to me.
He came from Cavalati recently, you say, to persuade you to return there.
That's right, Mr. Holmes. Well, Bruna seems to be all right after drinking that champagne, so it'll be safe for us to have some now. Champagne on what table?
Potache, Ma'am Sahib.
Oh, I've been burning with curiosity to know why you gave him a glass of champagne a few minutes ago, and yet we didn't have any.
Oh, surely that's obvious, Watson. Fruma is the official poison taster, isn't he, madam?
That's right, Mr. Holmes. He tastes everything I eat or drink before I do. But if it doesn't affect him, then I know it's safe. Berta brought him over to England when he came to fetch me. On the island of Cabarati, poisoning's quite an hobby, you know.
There were 2 people in the smoking room tonight who seem to know quite a lot about your island. The ship's doctor, a rather garrulous gentleman by the name of Harris, and Sir Christopher Wyatt, who owns tea plantations on the island. Do you know either of them, madam?
They are too, both of them. Dr. Harris isn't any good. He was on the island for a bit, but he got into some kind of trouble, and my husband had him thrown out.
And how about Sir Christopher Wyatt?
Oh, Chris is all right. I saw quite a bit of him in London after my husband's death. As a matter of fact, well, if I was going back to Cabarrotty, I don't think he'd be on the boat at all. He hasn't been there for over 5 years. Since he had aroused my husband over the wages he paid the native labor.
It seems to me that several people aboard this boat have a personal interest in the island of Cabarrotty. Interests that might be influenced by your death.
That's what I was going to say, madam. I think we should keep an eye on you.
Oh, that's just what I was hoping you'd say, Doctor. You see, I'm giving a bit of a supper party tonight. All the people we've been talking about have been invited. And I thought if you two were to be here, perhaps you'd be on the lookout for any funny business. How about it?
Well, of course we'll come. Won't we, Holmes?
I think it might be a good idea. Though I would suggest that we retain our incognitors as Mr. Hamish and Mr. Mycroft.
Well, whatever you say, Mr. Holmes. And now, let's have that champagne.
You know, Holmes, I remember the Rani when she was in the chorus at Daly's. She looked stunning in tights. There was one night I...
Yes, we don't mind. At the moment, there's a question I want to ask you.
Oh, huh?
Is your medical bag fully equipped with all the antidotes to poison?
Poison? It's ridiculous. How could the Rani be poisoned when she has a poison taster?
My dear Watson, you must be...
What the blazes?
Watson, that's how I came from the companionway.
There are two figures struggling by the rail there.
One of them pushed the other down the companionway.
Good Lord. His skull smashed in. I'm afraid that he...
What's happened? Sir Christopher Wyatt. What are you doing here? I was taking a stroll. I heard a yell from this direction and came there as fast as I could. Great Scott. This fellow's bleeding badly. We must get the ship's doctor. That's hardly necessary, I fear, Sir Christopher. What do you mean? In the first place, this man is dead. In the second place, he is the ship's doctor.
We'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just a second, so I'm just going to ask you to do one thing for me. Well, I should say for yourself. Tomorrow night, if you're having meat or any meat dish for dinner, why not open up a bottle of Petri California Burgundy? That wonderful, rich, red Petri Burgundy will turn your dinner into a real feast. You see if it does. Because there's nothing like a good wine with good food. And I know your family gets good food, and I know that Petri Burgundy is a good wine. In fact, it's a perfect mealtime wine. Try it and see. And now, Dr. Watson, tell us what happened next. You said you found the ship's doctor dead at the foot of the companionway?
Yes, Mr. Bartell. His neck had been broken instantly.
Imagine there was a good deal of excitement aboard.
No, my boy, as a matter of fact, there wasn't. We managed to get the body back to its cabin without attracting attention. Holmes, after revealing his true identity, was able to persuade the captain to hush up the killing until after the Rani's party had taken place.
Oh, he didn't want to scare the murderer, I guess. What happened next, Doctor?
Holmes and I returned to our cabin to dress for the party. Holmes, I remember, was in a state of suppressed excitement. He spoke quietly and deliberately.
Watson, surely it's obvious why the doctor was murdered.
Oh, it was obvious to me.
It's elementary, my dear fellow. You're planning a subtle murder by poison. How wise to remove the one man who might save the victim's life, a doctor.
Oh, you keep harping on poisoning. It seems to me that we're the last way a murder would try to dispose of the Rani. Everything she touches is first tested by the poison tester.
Exactly. That's why I call it a subtle murder attempt. Didn't you notice the physical attributes of Prumer, the poison tester?
Which in particular?
His unusually glossy hair, his remarkably clear complexion, his plump figure. Look here. Just tell me one thing, will you?
What's that?
I presume that in your medical bag you have a supply of magnesia.
Naturally.
Do you also have hydrated ferric oxide?
Yes, I do.
Splendid. Then be off to the party.
Oh, funny things to take to a party, I must say.
True, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid that this party may not prove as convivial as the Rani thinks.
It's nearly 1 in the morning. Everything seems to be going splendidly.
It seems to be, Watson, but keep your eyes on the Rani.
Yes, I have been. The poison testers tested everything that passed their lips. We Dr. Doris to you, Sir Christopher. You having a good time?
Yes, indeed, thank you, Mr. Hamish. How about you, Mr. Mycroft? Oh, the Ronnie's perfect hostess. Who could help having a good time? I don't think that girl, Regina, should be here, though. I don't want to be pompous, but after all, she's only a glorified servant. Possibly the laws of etiquette are not so strict in Cavarati as they are in London, Sir Christopher. Oh, perhaps you're right. I don't trust the girl. Something shifty about her. I've told the Ronnie more than once. Oh, well, I suppose it's none of my business. I think I'll try and persuade the Ronnie to sing one of her old songs.
He doesn't trust Aduna, and I don't trust him. I don't think it was an accident that we found him near the body of Dr. Harris.
Here comes Vera.
I trust you gentlemen are enjoying yourselves.
Very much, Mr. Vera, thank you. I imagine you must be excited at the prospect of returning to Calavati.
I am, Mr. Mycroft. Though I only left it 3 months ago, it has seemed more like 3 years.
Did you tell what time we'll arrive there?
I am told that we shall be there in 5 hours, Mr. Harris.
Oh, look, Rana's at the piano. She must be going to give us a tune.
Yes, let's move a little closer, shall we?
Chrissy has asked me to sing something. Yeah, my voice isn't what it used to be, and don't I know it. But me spirit's the same, and that's enough to put a number over. So, hold tight, boys. Here we go. My sweet the man in the moon. I'm going to marry him soon. You would fill me with bliss just to give him one kiss, but I know that a dozen I never would miss. I'll go up in a great big...
Great Scott, you
better go back. I'll lock the door.
Right, your home.
Help me. Oh, please, help me.
Don't be frightened, madam. I'll take care of you.
Bessie, give me water. Oh, such pain.
All symptoms of arsenic poisoning. Now I know why Holmes asked me if I had any magnesia. Ferric oxide.
Do something for me, Doctor. I'm dying.
Don't worry, Your Highness. You're not going to die. She's going to live, Holmes. Ah, gracious me, I'm tired. Was touch and go there for a while, though.
Well done, Watson, old chap. Well done. Now that she's out of danger, why can't we all go back to our cabin? It's nearly dawn, and we've been locked in here since 1 o'clock. You've no right to do this, you know. Possibly not, Sir Christopher, but there's a murderer in this cabin, and I don't intend to let him escape.
Mr. Holmes, what happened? How could I have been poisoned when Frumer tasted everything first? Why wasn't he poisoned?
For a very simple reason, Your Highness. The murderer has been conditioning Frumer for over a year.
What do you mean?
He's been feeding him gradually increasing doses of arsenic until he has finally become immune to the poison.
God, I never thought of that.
Frumer's glossy hair, his complexion, and stout figure are all typical of a person who consumes arsenic regularly.
But who could have done it?
Only one person had the opportunity.
Well, tell us who that person is.
No, not you, Sir Christopher, not you. For you haven't been on the island for years, whereas Frumer returned from Caravati 3 months ago. Rajuna has also been in London with her mistress for the past 18 months, remember? The answer is obvious.
You did it, Verda. You brought the taster over when you came to fetch me. You prepared him for the year beforehand.
Of course I did. No white runner will ever rule over Cavarati.
And you murdered Dr. Harris.
Equally true. Mr. Holmes, give me the key to the door, please.
Oh, no. What?
Do not come near me. Please throw it on the floor. Do not hesitate. You see this revolver? I should have no compunction in using it, I assure you.
How do you expect to escape, Vera?
The key, please. Thank you.
You'll never get away with this, Bertie, you devil.
But I shall.
You
We
devil.
are now in the harbor of Cavarati. I shall swim ashore and arrange your welcome, my dear Rane. Turn your backs, please. Turn them. Thank you. Goodbye.
He's gone. Come on, Watson. Watson. You have your revolver, Watson?
Yes, but I didn't get a chance to do it. He had me covered.
Well, do it now, old fellow. Aim for a leg or an arm, and don't hesitate to shoot.
There he is, up on the lifeboat. He's climbing up on the rail.
Where did he go?
Out there on the rail above us, madam. He's going to dive.
Give me that revolver, Dr. Watson, quick. That's it. Come down off there,
No.
You shot the kill.
Of course I did, Mr. Holmes. Remember that we're now in Cavarotti waters, and that though I may not look like it at the moment, I am still the Ronnie of Cavarotti.
And now, Dr. Watson, to return to the New Year's Eve you and Sherlock Holmes celebrated on the good ship Gigantic.
Yes. Here's your Tom and Jerry, Mr. Harris. Be careful, don't burn yourself. Yes, it was probably the most hectic New Year's Eve I've ever experienced. Nothing is as terrifying to a seafaring man as the thought of fire aboard ship, the panic, the isolation. Oh, but that's neither here nor there. Yes, let me see. It was the last day of the year 1912. Its inception was sufficiently placid, I must say. A light snow was falling as Holmes and I seated ourselves on either side of a well-filled breakfast table. The flames of our sea-coal fire reflected themselves cheerfully in the generous coffee pot. The whole house was filled with the pleasant aroma of the stuffing Mrs. Hudson was preparing for our New Year's goose. Suddenly there came a frantic jangle at the front door bell.
Jingle jangle.
No, definitely no.
Oh, what?
Whoever it is that's putting our front doorbell out by the roots, and whatever his problem is, I'm definitely not interested. Yes, Watson, being the world's greatest consulting detective has its disadvantages. People always manage to get into difficulties at the most inopportune moments.
Yes, you should try being a doctor, Holmes. No female since Eve has ever decided to become a mother at a convenient time.
Oh, come in, confound it.
Mr. Holmes? Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
Naturally. Whatever your problem is, I warn you it'll have to wait till after the holidays.
But it can't wait, Mr. Holmes. Close to 2,000 lives are at stake. I pray to heaven you'll be able to reach them before it's too late.
Reach whom? Where? And what is this disaster you anticipate with such trepidation?
The steamship Gigantic, Mr. Holmes. She should be somewhere off the Scilly Isles by midnight. We've been reliably informed that an attempt will be made to set fire to her at that time. If successful, it'll be the greatest disaster in all maritime history.
Yes, in that case, I suppose I shall have to forego the little celebration I'd planned for this evening.
Have to? Really, Holmes, you are a cold-blooded fish.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't believe you met my colleague, Dr. Watson, Mr.
Pembroke. Reginald Pembroke.
How do you do, sir?
I'm chairman of the board of Floyd's, the famous insurance company.
Oh, then your desire to prevent this disaster isn't entirely humanitarian.
Not entirely, but neither is it altogether mercenary. There's more at stake than the lives of the passengers on board the Gigantic. If she goes down, the financial stability of the British Empire goes with her.
Interesting, eh, Watson? Continue, Mr. Pembroke.
You may not be aware, Mr. Holmes, that during this past year, there have been a terrifying number of marine catastrophes.
Holmes knows everything, Mr. Pembroke.
I'm quite cognizant of the fact that quite a few of the newest and fastest British liners have been destroyed at sea
Poopers.
by
You want to get
fire,
outside?
storm,
It's so cold.
and accident.
They
So
were
cold out there, though.
accidents, Mr. Holmes, I assure you.
Quite. The Egyptian Star was destroyed by fire in the Persian Gulf. 800 lives lost. The Lord Nelson disappeared in a typhoon in the Indian Ocean. No survivors. The Southern Cross exploded and sank off the coast of Brazil. 1,200 casualties. The Wellington, the Lady Jane Grey, and the El Dorado all caught fire in different parts of the Pacific. Total deaths, over 2,000. The greatest disaster was last April when the Titanic ran into
The
an iceberg
Fitzgerald.
with a loss of over 1,500 souls.
Edmund
The
Fitzgerald.
public's becoming panicky about traveling on British ships. The ships of other nationalities are taking all our trade. 3 banks and nearly 10 investment concerns with large marine interests have gone to the wall. Even Floyd's is not too secure. But that is not the most serious aspect of the situation.
Really?
Good Lord, don't tell me there's worse to come.
Much worse, Dr. Watson. Those ships disappeared in many parts of the world. They were sunk by diverse methods. One factor, however, was the same in each disaster.
And that was?
The cargo carried by each ship was gold. English gold.
Oh.
If it ever became known how much British bullion lies at the bottom of the 7 seas, British credit would be badly crippled. As a matter of fact, the Bank of England has been forced to import a large shipment of gold from Canada.
And it's on the Gigantic. Good Lord, no wonder you're upset.
The whole economic structure of the British Empire is at stake, Mr. Holmes. Nothing must happen to the Gigantic.
What makes you think anything will?
A cable was sent shortly after the Gigantic left Queenstown.
She makes a stop in Ireland on her eastbound voyage. She sailed shortly before dawn this morning.
You're a pooper.
The gangplanks have been drawn in, the last line have been cast off, and the great propellers have begun to churn. Suddenly the dockmaster noticed someone sliding down the ship's side on a rope. Hi, look up there, sir. Some fool's climbed over the side. He's coming down on a rope. Go back, you fool. Go back. He'll be killed. He'll never make the dock. He'll fall in the water and be swept under the ship. No, he's pushing the rope away from the ship with his feet. He's swinging out. He's going to jump. He made it. Someone up on the bridge has seen him. He's calling to him. The chap picked himself up. He's shouting back. Happy New Year to you there. Happy New Year. In hell. Good Lord, I know the man, sir. It's Smoky Joe, the firebird. If the gigantic don't catch fire between here and Southampton, I'm a Dutchman.
Smoky Joe seems to me we've heard of him before, Watson? Not merely as an expert arsonist, but a dangerous pyromaniac as well. They caught him, I hope, Mr. Pembroke.
No, Mr. Holmes. Unfortunately, he was too quick for them. He crawled down a ladder and disappeared among the pilings under the docks.
So, the gigantic is headed for Southampton with a nice bit of Joe's handiwork aboard.
You think it's a firebomb, Holmes?
Not necessarily, Watson. There are many ingenious ways of starting a fire, you know. Whoever hired Joe would prefer to have it happen well out to sea, I imagine.
Our thought exactly, Mr. Holmes. We've wireless Captain Brooks to make a search, of course, but on a ship the size of the gigantic, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. You are our one hope, Mr. Holmes. If only you could get on board in time.
And how do you suggest I go about that little assignment?
The chairman of the Great Western Railway has placed the Royal Train at your disposal. All other traffic will be cleared off the tracks. Now, you should reach Land's End shortly after lunch. My yacht, the Albatross, will be waiting for you in the harbor at St. Ives. Very speedy little craft, and with any luck, you should sight the gigantic around 11 o'clock tonight.
Yes, 11 o'clock. Was it Smoky Joe called out, Happy New Year in hell? It won't be New Year till midnight. If we reach the gigantic by 11, we may just possibly be in time. It's 11 o'clock. Confound this fog. We've had to reduce our speed to half.
Oh, we'll never catch up to the gigantic now, Holmes.
Nonsense. She's had to slow down, too. I only hope we don't miss her entirely in this fog.
I don't really care.
You don't sound very fit, Watson. What's up?
You have to use that unfortunate expression.
Don't tell me you're feeling squeamish.
It's this confounded roll. I can stand a good brisk sea, but this bobbing about in a teacup.
Pity I didn't bring the Mothersills seasick pills.
Oh, Mothersills. There's only one remedy for this sort of thing.
What's that?
Staying on shore. Jolly way to spend New Year's Eve, this is. Who do you suppose is responsible for these confounded sinkings, anyway?
Mr. Pembroke seems to be a foreign plot. The Middle East European shipping industries benefit the most, of course.
Holmes, did you hear that?
By Jove, yes.
Sounds like an ocean liner, right enough.
Yes, we're signaling her.
Scott, there she is, the gigantic looming out of the fog. Looks like a mountain coming at us.
Yes, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson coming aboard. Let down a ladder.
Below.
Here's the ladder, Watson. Think you can manage it?
I'd climb up the Eiffel Tower on a clothesline if it would get me off this bouncing coffin shell.
You're a good time, Watson. You're a good time.
Quite an impressive array of instruments you have up here on the bridge, Captain Brooks.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. On the gigantic, we have the latest of everything. And none of it's any real use in case of fire. I'd sooner face a typhoon or a shipwreck or a mutiny even, Dod Rattit, than a fire on board ship.
Surely a ship this size should be fairly fireproof.
That's what you might think, Dr. Watson. But there are three factors that make a fire on a luxury liner dangerous. First, there's all the confounded ornamental woodwork that's used in the passenger construction. Second, there's the fact that once a fire gets a firm hold, it's fed by drafts that rush through the ventilating system. And third, there is the element of panic. Nothing makes people behave more like wild beasts quicker than the cry of fire.
In case of fire, you have, of course, an alarm system.
We have the old-fashioned system of bells, and also something rather recent. The Gigantic is one of the first ships to install it. You see that glass case over there, gentlemen?
The one with a lot of tubes entering from below. Looks rather like a giant honeycomb, eh, Holmes?
Each of those tubes leads to a separate compartment of the ship. The instant a fire breaks out anywhere, smoke is immediately drawn up into the glass case. I've stationed a sailor to watch that case. Believe me, gentlemen, the first wisp of smoke, we shall know it.
Yes, undoubtedly very helpful, Captain Brooks, in the case of an ordinary conflagration. I assure you, a fire set by Smoky Joe is not ordinary. He's a master arsonist. 10 seconds after one of his fires breaks out, you're dealing with a raging inferno.
Confound it, they tell me the man deserted the ship at Queenstown. That is this morning. Well, that's more than 18 hours ago. If he'd set fire, it seems to me that we'd be inflamed by this time.
Not necessarily. There are many methods by which a fire can be made to break out long after the pyromaniac has left the scene of his crime. You say you found no time bombs, no inflammable acids.
No, Mr. Holmes. Ever since I received word that we were in danger, I've had my men searching high and low. They found nothing, absolutely nothing. It's been a systematic search, I promise you.
Yes, but you've drawn a blank. That's what comes of using system instead of brains and initiative.
Oh? And how do you propose to locate whatever it is we can't find?
By using a little logic. I shall credit Smoky Joe with having the intelligence to place his fire-starting device in the place where it'll do the most damage. The man's no amateur, Captain. He knows his business. Then I shall investigate that place and remove his handiwork.
Holmes, you're bragging again.
Not at all, my dear Watson. I think I may promise I shall have discovered the menace inside of half an hour. I only hope Joe's little device doesn't do its nasty job before then.
Half an hour. Now 11:30 exactly. Do you think you can solve this problem by midnight?
Yes, Captain. With any luck, I think I can promise you a placid and uneventful New Year.
Captain Brooks. Yes, Mr. Brown. What seems to be the trouble?
The wireless engineer, sir, wishes to report that something's wrong with his apparatus. Both the sending and receiving equipment have suddenly gone out of commission.
I don't like that. What does he think is... I mean, Captain, can you come here a minute? Excuse me a moment, gentlemen. The wheelsman is calling me. What's the trouble, Jerry?
It's the compass. It's spinning like a top. I can't figure out what's come into it. Never seen the like except once in some magnetic storm.
Great Scott, this is incredible. Now what?
It's the engine room calling, Captain.
I'll take it. Hello? Yes, Captain Brooks speaking. The blazes, you say? Well, do the best you can. Seems to be the difficulty, Captain. The dynamos are slowing down. They can't figure out why.
Good Lord, sir, that's why the lights are getting dim.
Blazes with the lights. Without dynamos, we've no forced draft for the furnaces. We'll never keep up enough steam pressure to drive the ship. In no time at all, we'll be drifting helplessly in the Atlantic, in the middle of the reefs that surround the city isles.
Jolly way to spend New Year's Eve, eh, Holmes?
It could be worse, you know.
How?
The ship could be on fire. That's the real menace, to which these other threats are but the prelude, I fancy.
For the love of heaven, what are we to do?
Keep calm and use whatever intelligence the Lord has endowed us with. Captain Brooks, I suggest you and as many officers as you can spare join the holiday celebration that's undoubtedly going on, in order to keep discipline in case there's any disturbance.
Very good, Mr. Holmes. There's a New Year's dance going on in the large ballroom. It's on sea deck.
And meanwhile, if you could spare us someone to guide Watson and myself.
Of course. Now, Mr. Brown here is our purser. He knows the ship as well as anyone aboard.
I'm sure he does. Very well, Mr. Brown. If you'll lead the way, I think Dr. Watson and I would like to go below.
And investigate the engines?
No, Mr. Brown, even lower than that. What we're looking for is apt to be rather close to the furnaces, I imagine.
These iron stairs that go round and round to make me dizzy. Maybe it's the heat down here.
Yes, we're getting close to the furnace room. If you listen, you can hear the men smoking.
Grim way to earn a living, eh, Holmes?
Stop a minute. Where does that lead, Mr. Brown? That small corridor with a heavy metal door at the far end.
That's the bullion room, sir, where the gold is kept.
Very interesting. Suppose we take a look, eh, Watson?
As I've always wanted to see those gold bars you hear so much about.
I'm afraid that won't be possible, Dr. Watson.
Why not?
But as you can see, the door is locked and sealed. It was done by the port authorities before we left New York. That door won't be opened until the port authorities unseal it when we reach Southampton.
You mean that room in there wasn't open when the captain ordered the ship searched for incendiary material?
No, Mr. Holmes. But it's quite impossible for anyone to place a firebomb or anything of the sort in there. As you can see, the seals are still intact.
Quite. These seals are intact. But are they the ones put on in New York? I doubt it. Let's have a look. Yes, interesting. Very interesting. These are not the original seals.
Oh, how can you tell, Holmes? They look intact to me.
Exactly, they are intact. But here in the crack of the door sill are bits of broken seals. But these seals are not even chipped.
By Jove, yes, of course. The original seals were hacked off and then replaced after someone had finished picking the lock and robbing the room inside.
I doubt if robbery was the motive, Watson.
Well, for what other reason would anyone want to break into a room full of gold bullion?
It all depends. What lies directly below that room, Mr. Brown?
Well, let me see. Well, nothing of any great importance, Mr. Holmes. Just the coal piles.
The coal piles? Good Lord. I think we shall have to break the seals again, Mr. Brown. Here, Watson, help me.
But the door is locked, Mr. Holmes. Even after the seals have been removed, we have to get the key from the captain.
No time for that. Hand me my burglar tools, Watson.
Very well. Good heavens, you mean you could actually pick a lock with those things? If Holmes ever turned thief, Mr. Brown, even the Bank of England wouldn't be safe.
Yes, that should do the trick. Now, if you'll help me draw the bars, Watson.
Yes, with pleasure. There you are, Holmes.
Now, let's see.
Say, it's black in there, isn't it?
Is there a light inside, Mr. Brown?
No, Mr. Holmes, I'm afraid not.
Then we shall have to prop the door open. The light from the corridor will have to do for our investigations. Come on, Watson.
Holmes, that smell. Phew. Strong and acrid. Like sulfur, only with more bite.
Seems to be coming from this large tin. Suppose I light a match.
Stop!
Don't be alarmed. I know better than to light a match around a tin which is leaking sulfuric acid. I only wanted to know how much you knew about Smoky Joe's incendiary device, Mr. Ludwig Brown, spelled B-R-A-U-N, if I'm not mistaken.
So you recognize me?
Yes, that touring scar over your left eye. It's rather a giveaway, don't you know?
So you have found how we are going to set fire to the ship by having the acid drip through a hole in the floor onto the coal beneath. The first shovelful of that acid-soaked coal that goes in the furnace, and the whole of the ship will be a blazing inferno. Nothing could put out that fire.
Don't you mean that's how you were going to start the fire?
My dear Mr. Holmes, you do not think we will let a small obstacle like the famous Sherlock Holmes stand in our way?
Listen to me.
Don't raise your fist to me, I'll let you have it.
Never argue with a Luger pistol, Watson.
Well, that's the first sensible remark you've made, Mr. Holmes. I'm sorry to leave, but the stokers should reach the sulfuric acid impregnated coal in about 10 minutes, I believe. So I must be going. This room will be a roaring oven once it starts. You'll be rather badly overdone, gentlemen. Goodbye, then. So sorry I cannot say auf Wiedersehen.
Should be somewhere near the ceiling.
But Holmes, I can't see a thing in this black hole of Calcutta.
You can feel, can't you?
Not a thing, Holmes. The wall on this side of the room is as smooth as an egg.
I'd find it if we could see for half a minute. Hello, I got something.
Yes?
Yes, a small grating here in the upper corner. This must be it. Now, if we can make a smudge of some sort. Watson, bring me a piece of paper.
Paper? Where would I find a piece of paper?
Then bring me anything I can burn. A bit of cloth, a piece of... Yes, by Jove, rope. Bring me a piece of the rope that's tied around one of the boxes that contain the bullion.
Very well, if I can find a box.
Oh, now what?
I found it. Found it. The knots are tied so tight.
Blazes with knots. Cut the rope, Watson. Use your pocket knife.
Oh, very well. There you are, Holmes. It's a short length, I'm afraid.
I only want enough for a smudge. Nothing like a bit of hempen rope.
Holmes, for heaven's sake, you're not going to set a match to that thing in here. There'll be an explosion.
Have to take the chance, Watson. With any luck, the sulfuric acid fumes won't be too concentrated up here near the ceiling. Well, here goes. 1, 2. Yeah. Now, if we can persuade the rope to smolder. Yes, there she goes.
Certainly makes plenty of smoke, Holmes?
Important thing, it's being drawn up through the grating.
How long before they come to investigate, do you suppose?
It all depends on the mental acumen of the sailor who's watching that fire detecting Get Clippercraft suits in 1948 for only $40 and $45. Clippercraft top coats and overcoats for only $40, and sport jackets for only $26.50. And isn't it as good a time as any to decide to get the most for your money? You've every right to expect long wear, correct styling, good taste, comfort, and perfect fit. And you get all these to an astounding degree in Clippercraft clothes. And you get them at incredibly modest prices. It's, of course, American production genius applied to the making of fine clothes that does the trick. It's the unique Clippercraft plan, concentrating the buying power of 924 of the nation's leading independent stores from coast to coast. You get the benefit of this plan at your own locally owned store, the store you can trust. Selling expensive clothes at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest independent stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plan. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city. These leading stores in the metropolitan area are proud to add their names to Clippercraft in your suit, top coat, and overcoat. In Manhattan, Saks 34th, Broadway at 34th. John Wanamaker Men's Stores, Broadway at 8th and 67 Liberty Street. In Brooklyn, Abraham and Strauss. In Newark, New Jersey, Boulevard Men's Shop, Kresge Newark. And in Jamaica, the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408 Jamaica Avenue. Now let's rejoin Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, locked in the smoke-filled bouillon room of the gigantic. Good Lord. How long did it take for them to get it out of here? That smoke's suffocating. Calm yourself, Watson. It can't be more than 3 minutes since we lit this smudge. Yes, I can hear someone running down the iron staircase. I can't hear a blasted thing. How do you... Hello in there. Get us out. We're in here.
How are they going to get out?
The door. Oh, what a relief. Oh, yes. And look at you two get locked in here. What's all the smoke? Five explanations, Captain. Stop them stoking the furnaces. Flood the coal piles with water. They've been soaked with sulfuric acid. Good Lord. Let go. Each. Stop the firing. Stop the pumps in the engine room. Well, that's that, Holmes. What do you suppose has become of that dastardly purser? We'll let Captain Brooks take care of him, Watson. Unless I'm very much mistaken, Mr. Brown is going to wish he'd never gone to sea. Well, come along, let's go upstairs and join the festivities. I think we rate a bottle of champagne. Blazes with the champagne, I need a double brandy. Hey, bells. Let's see that beer. Midnight, Watson. Happy New Year, old fellow. Happy New Year, Holmes, and many of them. But, don't you think you could manage to have them not quite so hair-raising? And have you getting fat and lethargic? You know, that would be unhealthy. Not to say boring. Oh, so now it's my sake we indulge in all these horrendous escapades, eh? Try a bit of logic, that is. Elementary, my dear Watson. Elementary. But here's the ballroom. Suppose we join the party. Fine, my dear. Well, Dr. Watson, that was an exciting way to spend New Year's Eve. A bit too exciting, Mr. Harris, if you ask me. Doctor, did they catch the purser? Oh, they did indeed. Mr. Brown and 5 of his accomplices were thrown in the brig. That was the end of the disasters in the British Maritime Service. When did Holmes first suspect the purser was the villain of the piece? When he came over the bridge and threw his overcoat on a chair near to the compass, whereupon the compass went berserk. Holmes immediately suspected...
Boom. I got my check, finally.
Of some sort. And was he right, Doctor? My dear Mr. Harris, was Sherlock Holmes ever wrong? But come, fill your mug and let us wish our radio friends a prosperous, happy, and peaceful New Year. Indeed we do, Doctor. And now, Dr. Watson, would you like to give us a hint about next week's story? Next week, I think I'll tell you how Holmes and I trapped a famous jewel thief right in our own rooms in Baker Street by the use of what was then a fabulous new invention, the gramophone.
bucks. $500 just arrived on the doorstep. Not only did we get a $500 check today, and we're putting out, $800, $1,000 in sales. What the heck did I get? First off, what kind of packaging is this? This is freaking crazy. Who packages stuff like this? This is like they just took a garbage bag and wrapped it up. Ground advantage returns. Oh, okay. So it's just Amazon returns. They just wrap stuff up and send it off best they can. But this is heavy. Now, if I'm right, there should be 2 grips in here. Nice. Well, we got 2 grips back. CA compliant and black. So what happens when you put 2 of them in a thing together? Black one got all scratched up. It's also bone dry. So I sent them out bone dry. Glad to get the white one back. They got some dirt on them. That's awesome. Glad to get them back. All right, we're going to do that for the live stream today. Thank you so much. I got to call the bank. We're going to get the check in there. I've got to get the rest of these boxes opened. Why don't we just do that on camera? Everybody loves a good box opening. One of them is going to be M-lock. Hopefully. Better be. Maybe not. This one's heavier, quite a bit heavier. I need to hold on to these boxes so I can ship larger orders. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Let's see if these, because it's a different brand, but they got here a day, like 3 days earlier than the other ones. So. Now the question of $100 million. Are they the same size? Will they fit? It was said that they were a millimeter longer. Nope, everything works. Looks good. Drop through just right. Fits. Good length. That'll work. All right, so we got T-nuts for our grip packs. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Good deal, good deal, good deal. We got 2 of them in-house, and we got plenty of tips to send out. Let's make sure the tip fits, and the tip fits perfectly, real nice. These feel like they're not going to strip out. These feel like they're better quality than the other ones that I bought. I have no doubt that they are. Now that I look at them, these look like they're real nice. All right, that's going to do it for the live stream. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day. Deuces.